faster. Living off borrowed time. The clock faster. Living off borrowed time. The clock tick faster. Living off borrowed time. The clock tick 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 tick. The clock tick 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 faster. Living off borrowed time. The clock 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 tick faster.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's Living Off Borrowed Time podcast. I'm your host, Patrique on RYM, joined as always by my co-host, OptimalAudio on RYM, Caleb, joined by our most constant guest, Traviud on RYM, Travis Whitman. And we were just talking about the lyrics we're going to be hearing for the next year or so, whack-ass, tired-ass bars. One is about 6ix9ine snitching puns. The other one's going to be, and I want to know if anybody's heard this yet, bad COVID, I'm sick as COVID, coronavirus struggle bars.
Oh, I've heard them in about 800 popular rap songs or semi-popular ones.
I really can't call one up. I've heard some good COVID lines, mainly from Currency songs where he talks about it. And there's that one Lupe tape, but I can't really think of any super horrible. I'm sure they're out there, so I want to hear about them.
I mean, there are songs or mixtapes called Pandemic or Epidemic.
Oh, yeah, I've heard the social distance tape and all this shit, but
right. I mean, there's been bars for months about it slipped in here. People Lil Baby saying he's socially distancing from rappers because they can't touch him or something little shit. I mean, I can't even recall all of them because to me there's been so many sick as blank or I don't know. There's been a lot in I can think of. I mean, one of my favorites is a Sada Baby bar where he's in ironically in a funny song otherwise, but it's the one with BFB Pac-Man, the Free Joe Exotic, but he which has nothing to do with Joe Exotic, but in the song he says "fuck a pandemic, Flint water's been fucked up," which true. So that was a good one. Travis, I don't know if you've heard anything.
I am reading this Rolling Stone article entitled "Rappers are freestyling about the coronavirus. It's not the best subject for freestyles," and there's this list of just shitty bars. I like this Cassidy bar. If you ain't home yet, just remember that COVID only 19. It ain't grown yet. I'm not wearing no gloves. I'm not wearing no mask. I ain't got to do none of that. I defeated the virus myself. Lil Uzi.
Wait, which song was this?
What the fuck?
Does it have
what the fuck is this? Is this on Eternal Take? What is this?
There's no way that was on Eternal Take.
That was way too.
It was on Insta Live.
Oh yeah. It was that. Yeah, it was a little Insta freestyle. That I can at least forgive. It wasn't on an actual song. I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, I'm pretty sure I've heard every Uzi song this year, and that hasn't been on.
This Trippie Red one's pretty good. If homies get to coughing, homies get to dying. Homie cough next to me, then them bullets flying. That's actually good. That's actually pretty good.
Well, it reminds me of the tweet that I think it was one of the Safdie bros tweeted out early on in the pandemic.
Of course, this degenerate ass gambler would come up with a Safdie.
Hey man, don't hate. All right, we're having a rough weekend over here. Anyway, we're having a Howard Ratner and Uncut Gems level weekend over here. It's just going bad to worse. Bad. It was a good Monday to Friday, and now we've taken some L's. But One of the Safety bros tweeted, I coughed on the subway just like innocently, and I got about 10 death stares. It's just that sort of.
I mean, the best coronavirus media of the year, of course, is the Toosie Slide music video. I mean, wow.
Wow, just truly.
Just truly connects with the common man,
Trav, you go. What is it? Your right foot, left foot slide. What are you doing?
Either way, we're gonna slide.
Either way, we're gonna slide.
Either way, we're gonna slide.
Why is Drake talking about we're gonna slide like we're gonna kill you? Like it's a dance song. What are you talking about?
Don't fuck around and make him catch a body like that. He was very clear about this way back when, in his OG days, when he was tucking the
He always sounded like he was about to cry when he delivered that line. He was very upset about the possibility that he may have to catch a body.
He may have to slide.
Don't make me come. No. Oh, no.
I will say, there's a song, once again.
Well, if he had to catch a body like that, he might tear his ACL again.
It's true. Not something I wish on anyone. Speaking of Slide though, there was also a Sada Baby song called Slide. It came out around the same time. Had a dance, much different dance, but it had a dance with it too, and was also just like a much better song than Tootsie Slide, and like was like only moderately popular.
But that's a high bar you're setting right there. It was a better song than Tootsie Slide.
It was a much better song than Tootsie Slide, but
I can't even remember the name of the last Drake single, and that was better than Tootsie Slide.
Oh, was it? It was
What the fuck was it called?
Was it Laugh Now, Cry Later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
now it's going to be a Certified Lover Boy. That's his album, right?
Well, that has got to be the most, either least or most self-aware Drake title of an album.
I still like the joke I made on the forum where I said that Buster Bluth was a certified mother boy.
That's
a mixtape title.
Drake's definitely watched Arrested Development. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to talk about a bunch of songs that are better than Tootsie Slide this week, because we're going to be talking about... This is another one of our reaction episodes, because noted RYM commenter, admin, mod, whatever he is, Diction, future guest eventually, said that this has not been a good year for hip-hop, and we all disagree, because there's been a ton of good shit, and we're just going to talk about the underground shit, what we at least classify as the underground stuff this year, because there's been a ton of it. Some of it's been well discussed, sometimes even on this podcast, some not so much. And I'm going to shed some light on it, talk about it a little bit. Kind of a general episode. Some of it just came out very recently. There's at least one album that I want to really kind of beat over your fucking heads, and I will when we get to it. But I feel like we'll just kind of trade off what we want to talk about. And I guess the definition of underground for the purposes of this podcast is fairly fluid. Like, if you think something doesn't really qualify, you can call somebody else out on it, but not really that big a deal. So I guess I will cede the floor to our guest to be polite. Travis, what do you got for this topic?
Yeah, let's. Okay, who's heard the Silk Money album?
I just heard it yesterday. I fucking love it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's one of the most interesting projects on here, because that, if I remember correctly, is fucking full of anti-vax bars and super woke, like third eye bars, and it's very conscious, extraordinarily conscious and thoughtful. But it had some stuff that gave me some bad nausea aftertaste too. And it was kind of, in that regard, it's a project that I kind of have an interesting thought about, like, recommending to people, because I know there's going to be some people who hear the lyrics on that album and think, oh, you're overreaching a little bit. Regardless, I thought that had some of the some of the most excellent flows of the year, and he's very impassioned. Like, that was one of the first things that grabbed me about that project. That was one of the tightest rap performances I've heard this year. Fucking fire when it's really connecting with me. The content is. And I think the production's excellent too. Collectively, I think it's one of the most powerful projects of the year. And there's moments of just real fire, of real like, wow, I need to be hearing this. This is really something that needs to be said. And it's when it kind of goes a little off track. I need to find some examples, but I know for a fact that there was some like, oh my God, dude, like, no, this is the government's not trying to poison your brain with Corona, man. You know, it's that type of shit. And that's okay when it's fucking fire. Like, I know there was some questionable shit on Bandana that came up. It comes up once in a while, but I tell you what, that album is fucking amazing, and I let it slide. And it's the same thing with Silk Money. We disagree, but on balance, one of the most important projects of the year for me. I've come back to it many times. It's very tight and consistent. I recommend it highly. Just comb through it. I think there's some wonderful content on there. It's definitely worth your time. I'm not going to say the whole name and the fucking title because we need to keep this under 3 hours. But it's a long ass fucking title. Definitely get around to it. That's one of the ones I asterisk because I don't think a lot of people have heard this project outside of radio music because thankfully it's got a very healthy chart score. It's doing well. It's just I can't get around to getting it to people on other sites. Like it just has not come up. So I hope people give it a shot. I know his previous project did extremely well too, so he had momentum coming into this one.
Didn't he have
Yeah, it's funny. Like,
didn't he have an Andre feature?
He had, yes, he had an Andre feature, and he had a Tyler feature. Yes.
So he's definitely got people's attention. Just real quick, I only heard this recently because you asterisked it, and I wanted to get to it. And I agree with you. There are certain lines on here. However, I think there's a little bit of a different case than on Bandana because on Bandana, it's one sore thumb line that people overemphasize because of the nature of the line. Gibbs lampshades that, whereas here it's kind of part of the overall torrent of stuff. And you don't have to agree with everything this guy says. I think his overall ideology and what he has to say is more important than individual points he might make in the course of making his overall argument. And the beats are fucking fire. His flow is fucking fire. What he says is impassioned and immediate. The music grabs you by the fucking throat. I get a very Danny Brown's The Loopers vibe off this. I get a very lost member of Bruiser Brigade vibe off this. The production is dark. He's funny. He's fucking funny on a lot of these lines.
Yeah.
He also reminds me a little bit of Mr. Motherfucking Esquire on some stuff. In the way he structures his punchlines and the way he flows. He's not off beat, but he's off kilter, I would say. And he chooses unconventional things to rap over. I think that it's also under 40 minutes. It's under 30. It's essentially a half hour. And it goes by quickly. He gives you a lot to think about. I listened to it immediately after the first time I listened to it. I replayed it because I felt like I didn't absorb it the first time I listened to it, which is always the sign of a really good album. And it hit me hard. It hit me quick. I'm going to be coming back to this. One of the best of the year for sure. Very glad you brought this to my attention. More people should listen to it. And the title and some of the content of what he talks about might turn people off. But I feel like one of the things I want to address in this episode is how so much of underground rap, hip-hop this year has been addressing more so than ever our current situation, and how our current situation has given them more of an avenue to do so because of the means of dissemination and social networking and the fact that we've all been forced inside by quarantine. And this is how people have to make their living. And there's so much to comment on right now. And I feel like this is a good one to start off on because it's like a spray gun comment. And you don't have to agree with everything he's fucking saying. Some of this shit is pretty galaxy brained. But overall, again, I think even if you're somebody who can tune out lyrics, even though this is, I think, a very lyrically pointed album, just on the pure strength of his flow and the darkness and propulsiveness of the beats, this is fucking awesome music.
This is definitely a situation that we're in right now where people know that they have your attention. Artists know that they have your undivided attention. You are listening, and this is the time to go. And certainly we have a lot to talk about. One other thing, just looking through this list that I had prepared, Jesus Christ, these albums are all 35 minutes long. There are a lot of very concise albums. I got through, I think, 7 albums last Saturday. I just blew through the whole thing. And it only took me 4 or 5 hours, except for, there are a couple exceptions, but mostly, especially a lot of the Griselda projects are 40 minutes or less. And we will probably cover a few of those. There's way too much. I've only heard one Westside album this year, and I feel like he's put out fucking 4.
He put out 3.
3.
No, 4, right?
I know for sure.
Books 1. 3, right? Yeah.
He has 3.
3. Yeah.
Sunshine, Pray for Paris, and the Stove God Cooks thing. Or Not the stuff. You know what I mean? Pray for Paris, Sunshine.
Yeah, Pray for Paris, and yeah.
Fly God's an awesome God. Whatever that was. Yeah.
Two. Fly God 2.
Do we want to move on to Griselda or? Oh yeah, you didn't even get to talk about this, Caleb. What do you got to say about this?
Yeah, no, I actually heard this the weekend it came out. One of my friends on RYM, I forget who it was, but said that it was. I know I said it too after hearing it, but said it was like the Jay Elec album, but better, or really, the Jay Elec Jay-Z like father like son album, but better. and it is, and I like that Jay-Z Jay Elec, Lil Wayne Birdman-esque album, but I do think that this record, I mean, the Impassioned is the first thing I would say about it, without a doubt. Like, it's not even close. Just the level of technical precision and passion and energy that he brings. Like, it's bring your own energy. You don't have to bring any energy to the table. This will wake you up. This is like morning coffee. And he really brings it. And the last track is probably my favorite track. That song is fucking nuts. The last track of the first few run of songs. I haven't heard it probably since like August or something, but I've heard it a few times. It's great. Definitely one of the better like conscious rap records this year, and an interesting decision because I know neither of you guys have heard his first two albums, but his first.
I'm just getting into it. Yeah.
Yeah, his first two albums were kind of like cloudy.
I have the first one, but I haven't cataloged it, and I don't recall listening to it. But that title is I have that one. I think because the Andre verse is on it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. You get.
No, it's two Tyler verses. I guess the Andre one's just on a Lucy because he definitely had the Andre song.
Yeah. He has an Andre one. I forget where it's on.
But I definitely have this first album, and I accidentally made it a 1. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah. I heard his first album in 2019, and I thought it was cool. It didn't leave me with too much besides a few songs. I haven't revisited it since then, so I might like it a little more now. But I thought it was like perfectly fine, perfectly adequate. And his second album also like decent, but didn't give me too much to go back to outside of a few songs. But once again, only gave that one listen. But this one seems like a significant step up for him. And once again, like I said, the other stuff is probably perfectly good, but I just haven't listened to it more than once or twice. And what's interesting though is that this third album, I know for a fact, is a big stylistic change for him. It's way more conscious, quote unquote. It's way more aggressive, and it's got like a little bit of like jazzy influence going on. Like it's a little jazzy in there. Like it's different stylistically. Where he was doing more like blending cloud rap with like hardcore hip hop before, and now it's just a conscious rap record, really. So it's interesting how I wonder what sparked the change for him between like making stuff that like, hey, if you like Odd Future mixed with like, mid 2010 cloud rap, you'd like this. But now it's like, oh, but if you like better versions of like Jay Elec, you'd like this. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just interesting.
That's hitting after just listening to Act 2 the other day. Well, which is a new album.
Act 2, a good album, but like, what is the hype about? Like, it's good, but like, I don't know.
Quick to address what you said about Silk Money, because based upon what little I've heard of his previous stuff, I would say that he made the stylistic change because I felt like previously he was kind of in that more sarcastic early Tyler lane, and now he felt like he had something more serious to say, serious musical backing.
Yeah, he was definitely less. Like I said, he was definitely like less. In your face about some of the stuff and overtly serious. Like every song on the newest Silk Money record felt like serious, whereas there was injections of humor before and such.
Well, and then let's just go into it because I'll hijack the discussion. I've not heard Act 2 yet. I heard the one single that leaked from it, and it was good. Not like the world changing or whatever, but people have waited for this for so long. But I think we already got the Jay Electronica album. It was not the Jay-Z album. It was not like Father Like Son. with Jay-Z and Jay. But it was, in fact, Killah Priest, Rocket to Nebula, which was if a Jay Electronica album had sex with Lil B's Reign in England and gave birth to a late period Wu-Tang album, and it was somehow fucking awesome. Like, I don't know how this album is as good as it is. Have either of you guys heard it?
Yeah, this album rules.
I have not heard it.
That album rules. I've heard it a few times, actually, because I was so stunned that I liked it as much as I did the first time.
And he's flowing like... The way people say that Jay is either flowing like Jay-Z is flowing like Jay Electronica on Written Testimony or Makami is actually the way that Killah Priest is flowing like the way that Jay Electronica wants to flow for the past 10 years of his career. If that makes sense. In the way he's doing like these Hotep Galaxy brain-ass bars, but he does it in a way that's charismatic and songs that seem like appropriate for it almost. Whereas on Written Testimony, it just felt disjointed. The songs felt like disjointed, not bad, but it just felt like they
felt like pieces of songs rather than a cohesive.
It felt like no one piece of the song worked with another piece. Jay's verse to Jay Elec's verse to the beat, like all were going in different places. Whereas on this album, it's all one guy's crazy fucking vision. Which is what people wanted out of Jay Electronica from the first time they heard that first Jay Electronica verse they heard, which was normally like Exhibit B. Or Exhibit C, I'm sorry. That's normally the verse they point to. And they just wanted that sort of like off the top. And the last time I can think of a Jay Elec verse that really did that was the We Made It verse. Where Jay-Z arguably does better anyway. Like, that's up for debate. But some say, I've heard people say he wins Control too. Because he keeps it to 16 and he doesn't just like rely, like no one says Big Sean won that. And some people think people only like Kendrick's verse because he names names.
People have been saying that Big Sean has won Control for a while.
Yeah,
Really?
but that's like saying Biden killed it in the debate though, because the bar was set so low.
Again, we're talking about bars being set really like you've set a low bar for yourself. It's not that hard to clear it, right?
Yeah, he didn't stumble over his own feet and fall into a pile of shit. You know, like he did pretty all right.
But who cares buckets of bags of blood they pumped him full of if he was plumping or whatnot. But so.
It's gonna be a reoccurring motif. Every time I can't get out of the bed in the morning, I need somebody to just pump me full of blood.
Kids are plumping now. Yeah, on TikTok. Plump video. But
I'm gonna go plump. Yeah, I'm gonna plump. Sexy results. Check it out.
That's how tell Kittenpuke to tag this with plump.
Oh,
Sexy
God.
plump video. We're really gonna do. That's gonna definitely like up our views, but then we're also gonna get a lot of we're gonna get ratioed because people are gonna be really mad about what they get.
I just have no words for any of that, so I'm just gonna leave that there.
All right. So, as someone who's never heard a Killah Priest album before, is this a place to start? Because that's me.
I would always start with Heavy Mental, I think, because I think that's the most digestible Killah Priest album. How do you feel about Ka's delivery?
It's perfect for what he does. How about that?
I would say Killah Priest.
By itself, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a strong point.
I would say if that's not a struggle for you, Killah Priest delivery shouldn't be a struggle for you because he's on the more monotone side of like a Wu-Tang delivery, like not quite as like sleepy as Master Killah or later period Jizza, but definitely kind of like if somebody who didn't listen to rap heard him rap, they'd say he's just talking.
It depends on the lyrical content, depends on the nature of the beat. Like for Ka, it works perfectly.
Some very interesting beats on this. Like he's definitely like there's some psychedelic shit. It's very left field, and the lyrics for the most part are. This is the sort of like left field conspiracy rap shit that I like to hear. It's not like reactionary right wing anti-vax. Not that again, like the anti-vax bar stuff is really thorny to talk about because there is reason for suspicion in the like for rapper like the black community to have fucking suspicion about this shit.
No, it's part of the lineage. I understand.
But then there's also just reaction against science and being fucking dumb. You know?
It's also true.
Like B.O.B., with this shit.
Loving it right now. But Yeah, so, but I don't, my point being, it's like, and it's also tedious when you have somebody like B.O.B. who devotes all their Galaxy Brain music to tedious refutation of science. No one wants to hear that shit, ever. And that's not what Killah Priest does on this album. He comes up with like inventive shit, very creative, and it's, again, like what people wanted to hear out of Jay Electronica, I think. Like, that's why he sounded so fresh. Killah Priest is a guy who takes those sort of concepts and fleshes them out that over the course of a whole album, whereas you only got it from feature verses 10 years ago from Jay Electronica. And then you finally got that Jay Electronica album, and he needed more interesting Jay-Z verses to even motivate him to finish out his fucking contract, because that's what that album sounded like.
Right. And what did, Patrick, I want to ask you, do you know who produced the Killah Priest album?
I think there was... Are there credits on the RYM page? Let me
I did not see.
They were asking that on the box.
Fuck.
Yeah, I did not see.
Yeah, they didn't know.
Because he's done single producerships. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it did not sound like Fourth Disciple, Bronze Nazareth, those type of guys.
No, because the beats were, as we tend, like these beautiful, like ambient, like soundscapes.
New York, Rain in England, Choices and Flowers, Lil B type stuff, but with drums and fleshed out and like with somebody actually rapping over them and not just like Lil B spoken word type shit. Like It's like those beats, like actually it's those ambient soundscapes fleshed out into beats. Really, I can't think of anybody else who's actually rapped over that at all. That sort of stuff. So it'd be great to have production credits for that. It's I won't say it's one of the best rap albums I've heard this year. It's very long, and there's one track that's Native American influenced.
The influenced by the Washington football team.
The Washington
professional football team with the giant W that looks like a middle school.
We sure stack them up. Oh, how's the NFC East doing after I saw we lost a couple more today? It's a collective we now.
It is. The Washington football team took another L today.
Oh my God, the Cowboys are losing by 14.
They're losing
Christ.
By 14 as well. Yeah.
Wow. What a bunch of losers. Holy fuck. Anyway.
The Cowboys might be the most
East are the Democratic Party of football.
That's exactly true. And the Dallas Cowboys are the
Beto O'Rourke.
They're the Tom Perez of because here's the thing, the Dallas Cowboys probably one of the 6 to 8 most talented teams in the league. Preseason, everybody was on them. They got this incredible offense, and then as the Dallas Cowboys do every year, they proceed to choke, throw up all over themselves repeatedly, and find new ways to lose games in spectacular fashion. And
Mike McCarthy's idea of coaching is just taking a gigantic fucking tub of sour cream, a spoon, just watching his players, and then that's it.
I mean, that was
sitting
Ryan's idea of coaching, but except he did it to his feet, and that wasn't really his idea of coaching. That was just his OnlyFans account. But
that was true.
Oh my God. That was a great tangent.
I don't watch football. I just wanted to contribute a really gross joke to get you guys to stop fucking talking about football.
Yeah, no, the bottom line is the Washington football team, we stand their middle school ass decals, which are great.
Oh yeah, it looks like a fucking Whataburger logo. Like
I have a T-shirt.
It's like fucking Pop Warner. Like I could have designed this shit for like a 3rd grade team. It's beautiful.
There is merch. It is official.
That design for Napoleon Dynamite.
There is the best part is when they're playing and you look at the ticker on the bottom of like the screen for any game like that. Let's say you're watching a different game and you want to see the score and the ticker comes up. It'll say like, let's say they're playing, I don't know, like they're playing the Rams today. It'll say Rams versus football team. And I'm just like, God damn, this is great.
The best is when it was like week 1 when they were playing the Eagles and they actually won that game and they scored a touchdown, which actually used to happen for this team. And then it came up as like Washington football team. There was like this really ostentatious, like Madden-esque graphic that shows us on the screen. And it looked like a fucking video game. It looked like a team that you made in mode, and it was just
You just made all the
great.
players like
Yeah, you forgot to
99
delete the default name from the field, so it just says football team.
In the end zone, it literally says football team with the trademark symbol next to it. I swear to God.
This is the fate they deserve. I'm sorry, Trav. This is the fate.
Oh, I know. Alex Smith played today, by the way.
Who, by the way, should be nowhere near a football field of any
No, he has one leg and
He
then
has
one
one leg.
bionic leg.
He has his leg literally is made of non-human material.
He can't go through airport security anymore.
He literally has genuinely a robotic leg, and he's playing football. Like he's like, yeah, I want to go back out there. It's like, what? First of all, they paid him way too much damn money, so he shouldn't have to go back out there.
His kids were at the game today.
I mean, that's just classy, but the NFL has a great history of this. I remember because I used to be a Kansas City Chiefs fan when I followed football. And Trent Green, back when the Chiefs were playoff contenders before they won a Super Bowl, there was like a 15-year gap between that. He sustained a level 3 concussion, which was really big. It was probably a level 5 concussion because this was back when the NFL didn't acknowledge concussions.
Right.
And he wasn't actually allowed to drive a car, but he started that week.
Even though
he couldn't legally drive a car. So,
his head was at least like getting rammed by someone that day. Like.
It'd be like missing a body part, and they say you got a stinger. That's what they used to do. Shake it off.
You look at the injury report for the week. Yeah, he's questionable. He might play.
But speaking of sustaining massive brain damage and making questionable decisions, Jay Electronica didn't want you to hear this album, yet eventually 10 years later, somebody decided to leak it, and now everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever. I have only heard the one single. I still think that people are really attached to the idea of Jay Electronica as the rapper that thought of way back when.
People really, I think you nailed it. I think the idea of Jay Electronica is almost better than Jay Electronica. And that's
he's getting into Saigon territory.
Yeah,
he's only got like one release, and it's good, and that's what we got. And it just seems like a really big missed opportunity. And I've heard the project, and it sounds really rushed.
He didn't even get his Entourage appearance, I mean, Saigon's got him beat there, so.
I mean, he would be more of a candidate for like John from Cincinnati.
You think Jay Elec would be showing up on like what?
Carnival? Nah, Carnival was way before his time.
That's true. You think Jay Elec seems like a guy who'd be on like 6 feet under?
No, like he might be somebody who would spout some like Hotep shit on Oz and get stabbed 5 seconds later.
Oh, on Oz, yeah, that's perfect. Actually, that's perfect. They would be like, all right, we got to kill this guy off somehow. So
like he tries to sell a Bill Cooper book to Adebisi and then gets stabbed in the face.
And then they just leave him in the cell. It's like, wow, this is a really depressing way for this character to go out.
Do you remember when Luke Perry was the minister on Oz and then he somehow literally resurrected and went away?
Well, yeah.
That was great writing.
It's really elite TV writing.
That was some galaxy brain shit right there. I feel like we've gotten off topic. Do we want to talk about the Griselda stuff? So you only heard, which one did you hear? Pray for Paris or?
I heard Pray for Paris. What else did I hear? I heard the Kanye. Oh my God.
Kanye, you did it.
I did it. Ding, ding. Conway. Both Boldy James albums, which I loved, but I love both of them. 3 of them? Is he up to 3?
There were 3 of them.
He had Major on McNichols and Price of Tea in China, right?
No, he had
those are 2 I heard.
He had the Versace tape, right?
Oh, I didn't hear it.
I heard Versace tape. That wasn't as good. That was okay.
It was okay.
It was okay.
Impression on me. I listened to Price of Tea again for the podcast, and it's good, not great. Major on McNichols is fucking amazing. Top 20 for the year. Best Boldy project by far. Really love that album.
I'm going to make you upset because I like Price of Tea more. They're both great. But I like Price.
I slightly prefer Price of Tea. I find it more immediate, but Manger has grown on me. It really has. I think there's just a sonic depth on that one. The instrumentals are very rich. And in the first time I heard it, I thought, this is all right. It was very, it's more subdued. and I think I wasn't in the mood for it. And then when I went back to it, knowing the content, there's some great storytelling on Manger. It is a very rich album, and it deserves multiple listens. I think by the end of the year, I might flip on those two. Right now, I slightly prefer Price of Tea. The one hits like a truck, but they're both great.
I would say that your comments about Manger make sense because I think it was assembled over a many-year period. So it was this one producer working with getting a bunch of Boldy verses over a period of time and then kind of layering instrumentals over them. So it makes sense that it would feel less immediate. And also, since he was cherry-picking the verses, that the verses would feel more involved and layered since he was putting them together. So... And yeah, Price of Tea is definitely more along the lines of like an Alchemist working with a rapper just in top form, just coming up with fire-ass verses, punching at the beat. Really good Alchemist instrumentals. Although I think, well, actually no, Lamb Over Rice was last year. And the only other Alchemist full project this year is the Beat Tape, which is good.
That's he has got Freddie.
Alfredo.
Alfredo. Yeah, this is nothing on Alfredo.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's going to be on the year end, and we already did an episode on it. But yeah, we can all agree, Alfredo. But yeah, Price of Tea, Boldy's better than I gave him credit for. At first, I thought he was a little boring to be in Griselda, but he's excellent. Manger proves that, and he more than holds his own over. Like, he's better than Evidence is on Alchemist stuff. He's not, like, a waste of... He's certainly better than, like, a Riff Raff or somebody. Like, he's not a waste of Alchemist instrumentals. He proves his own. And Price of Tea is a very, very good album. It's just not something... I feel like other albums this year, including several Griselda albums, including 2 by Conway and at least 1 by Westside, do what Price of Tea does better. So I go to those before I go to Price of Tea.
I wouldn't disagree, but I have them all very, very close in the same, like, in how high I think of them. I think highly of a lot of them. So I just, like I said, I wouldn't.
All up to personal taste. I would say they're all pretty much.
Yeah, they're all pretty even to me. Well, Spitting Hair is maybe one better than the other, but I think with Price of Tea, I've listened to it a lot this year, and the run, I mean, the Vince Staples song, I mean, Surf and Turf, like, that is just the instrumental, Vince, the way he comes in.
The only verse we've gotten this year, right?
I think so. Yeah, and he annihilated that shit, and, like, just the way he comes on is, like, just so good. And then, what did he say? He's something about, like, they want to know how many people, but I shot, like, maybe about 3, something like that. I forget the bar, but it's a hilarious bar from Vince, like mid-verse.
Oh, no. It has that stand-up comedian delivery, and that's something I want to talk about with one of the things I want to get to. I don't know which one I want to talk about when we talk next, but yeah, like, there's something that, like, few rappers have where it's just like Ludacris has it, E40 has it sometimes, where it's like stand-up comedian delivery, and Vince has that.
Yeah, and I think, like, on that song, and Boldy too is like, Boldy has like these little moments on that album too. Like, I love the you talk about Evidence. I'm not a huge Evidence fan, like, at all. I love the Boldy and Evidence song on that album.
Evidence has great features, but the whole project, it was called Step Brothers, man. If you're gonna make a Step Brothers album, it's got to be a 10. I'm sorry, dude. It's got to be a 10. I was disappointed in Currency had Smoke DZA making a Prestige International album and only had like one fucking Step Brothers reference on it. There was no late 80s Billy Joel sample.
I mean, I think that, yeah, I don't know. I think with Evidence, back to that, I think it's just like for me, hearing him on like beats, the beat that he was on was tailor-made so perfectly for him. And like he and Boldy like traded like verses back and forth like that. I mean, didn't really trade verses, but just kind of like they took an idea, and like the skits are very like, kind of like involved and leading into songs. That Alchemist transitions are always great. That's one thing he's done exceptionally for his whole career. And this year too, just with Alfredo, we know those transitions are hard. But like that song and the way that the one with Freddie Gibbs leads into it before, super fire. Like, I mean, that's a Freddie verse that like no one's really talked about this year because he's had so many good ones. But that's a great Freddie verse, and him and Benny. I mean, Benny. One of my favorite Benny verses of the year is on that "Scrape the Bowl" track.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Scrape the Bowl.
Absolutely disgusting beat.
Best song on it, I think.
Disgusting beat.
I had nothing to say about Evidence. I've heard one Evidence project. I've heard Whether or Not,
Evidence
which is all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. You know,
Right.
it sounds like some music I really would have fucked with when I was like 18 or 19, and then I just kind of got off that track. And I don't know. I just find it very even really bland, cutting linguist type of shit, like blander, backpacker type of shit. Where I'm just kind of like, man, there was a time.
Evidence is real hip hop music. Like that. That's that type of.
Yeah. He's in that kind of sort of too. I almost want to put Elzai in that bag too, and I know I'm gonna piss people off when I say that, but
I love Elzai, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's just very, and there's somebody I listened to recently, a female rapper, sounds like Kendrick, Sa-Roc, Sharecropper's Daughter, really good fucking album, she sounds like Kendrick, and it's like, there's this very serious vein of like real hip-hop, and that's more in like the conscious hip-hop vein, but sometimes just rappers just get that vibe with me, where it's just like, you're good at doing this, I can only hear you rap in one way. Even if you vary your flow a little bit, I only hear you rap in one way when you rap. Your beats.
Has anyone here heard that Apollo Brown album?
I haven't, but like, I should have.
Heard of that 5 years now.
That's in the same vein. That's very much a female rapper in a Kendrick kind of style. Very conscious.
Chez Noir?
Yeah, Apollo Brown, Chez Noir, yeah.
I started it. And again, that should probably answer your question. I liked it, but I got interested in something else and I never finished. But I liked what I heard. She's really good. But again, it's that real hip hop thing. I'm coming off really snobby in some weird direction, I guess, but it just doesn't interest me. Like, in a lot of times. Like, I have to be in a really specific mood to want to hear that.
Same. Yeah, I felt the same way. It was extremely well intentioned and there's skill, but I just checked out, and it's getting a lot of love, and it's just like, I'm glad you're getting your voice out, but I'm not interested. Yeah, I can't say anything bad about it whatsoever. I mean, even for Apollo Brown, those beats were good. They were harder than his usual. Like, I mean, he's probably not the best producer for her to work with, though, because he's still, even his ceiling is pretty low. Like, the only Apollo Brown project I really fuck with is the Brown Tape, which is his remix of 12 Reasons to Die. I think that's really fucking good. Otherwise, I think he's kind of bland. Like, he's like Static Selecta, but on Xanax, kind of. Like,
on half a Xan?
Yeah. Like, Static Selecta is too dangerous for you. You can listen to some Apollo Brown stuff. So,
right.
I mean, he's still good, but what he does is just very samey, first of all. Like, he has one mode. And I feel like for somebody like that to stand out, I don't know. I feel bad criticizing this shit, though. You know what I mean? Like, where it's done very, very well, and it's done in that way for a reason. But musically, it doesn't interest me. At least not right now. It kind of feels like low-hanging fruit to just call it like lame and easy and soft, but I mean, it serves its purpose.
I mean, that's kind of the reputation.
For Apollo, I was talking more about like Sa-Roc and Chez Noir, both very good. Both, like, I would recommend checking out their albums, but both of them I kind of checked out on their albums, listening to them. Couldn't hold my attention because it seemed like too much of the same thing. More Chez Noirs, and I would credit that to say the Apollo Brown beats were part of that. The Sa-Roc album, I don't know. I started writing a review of this that I'll eventually publish, but it's like, kind of sounds. My comparison was, did I put this in the log where it's like I feel like it reminded me of the JID tape, DiCaprio 2. He trying to sound like Kendrick, and that was distracting. She's not trying to sound like Kendrick. I think she just kind of does, but her subject matter is kind of Kendrick's subject matter, so the fact that she's not trying to sound like him but does is still distracting. So that kind of takes me out of it. And then it's just one heavy thing after another. in kind of the same sort of palette musically.
I mean, you didn't get to the end of that album, but the last track is literally, what is it called? It's called 94. Can you guess what happens in this song about 1994? Like, yeah, it's just her just listing albums from 1994 that she liked. And
Oh, it's the Ka album, but not as good.
yeah, I mean, you get the idea. Like, you know that kind of revivalism is going to be a major part when you see a song title like that.
It's one of those albums that like is tailor made for dead end hip hop.
But here's the hook. She was born in 1994, so she's kind of looking back on this as like a wrong generation type of thing, on top of an already sort of troubling kind of revivalism quality. So that, for me, was a problem. And that's the closer. And with all these like great concepts and really important material, it's like, oh, all right, this is the credits roll song. Remember 1994? That was a great year for hip hop. Let's talk about it. And yeah, it has its place.
Wow. I don't think we've let Optimal even mention anything of his own, so.
Hey, I've enjoyed all the albums that you did. I didn't quite catch what you said there, Patrick. But
no, I was going to say, I said we just kind of talked about our own shit, so you haven't mentioned any albums. I think.
I wanted to actually bring these up because I think they're all in the same headspace. But outside of like the slum stuff that's come out this year, the was it the Red Veil? Is it Red Veil? The one
Andy Fantano's least favorite artist of the year.
The one that Fantano got mad.
If Fantano hated it, I definitely would have listened to it. I did not listen to this shit. It was one of the ones I skipped. Shit.
I'm just gonna lump it together with all the slum stuff because people, Fantano was just labeled was throwing it under that.
Let me guess. He said it was ripping off Girl, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was
because Fantano doesn't like Mike either. So, I guess fuck it. While I'm here, the Mike album is tremendous.
The Mike album,
it's heavy.
As hard as the other Mike, like.
I don't know.
I was a little mixed on it, I guess. I mean, it's all relative. I love Mike, so.
No, Mike's
I feel like
good.
It's one of his best. I don't know. One of. Not my favorite.
Mike does what Mike does, and every time it hits me just a bit less. There are some tracks on here as good as anything he's ever done, and the production's as good as anything he's ever done, and the track with Earl at the end is one of his very best, and the first few are some of his very best too, but then it loses me along the way. I feel like I did burn out a bit on the slum stuff this year, honestly. I'm going to blame Germ for poisoning my brain about it, maybe, because he did put the thought in my head that maybe these dudes were just kind of running out of ideas. But then it seemed like they were because, I don't know, because I can't point to anything wrong. Again, I can't point to anything wrong with the stuff that Navy put out, and wasn't Medane, or I don't know, it was Navy. And Akai Solo is not formally part of the crew, but he puts out a lot of music, and it's very.
Although
Akai Solo's verse on Shrines is amazing, I will say that much. And his albums are very good, but it's like it all does kind of blend together at a point, I would say, which might be a fault of me as a listener, but I do feel like they're on a bit of a holding pattern. I've not listened to the new Slauson. I have it, but I haven't listened to it yet.
It's crazy. I had it listed, so maybe I'll get around to I'll talk about it a little bit.
It is pretty nuts.
It's not new material. It's like covers of shit he did on Farwell. And like it's like reimagined versions, acoustic versions or something, right?
Yeah, the EP. Yeah.
EP with the weird pretentious ass titles and shit where it's like come to page whatever, go to page whatever with like the spelling. But
Mike's project, dude. My thing with Mike's project, his delivery was just on the wrong side of sleepy for me, because he has that flow. He always has, and he's usually perfect. I think with the beat choices, which I thought were really inventive, actually, they were more vaporwave influenced. They're very cloudy, and I thought it was great. But it got a little bit somnambulant when it kind of mixed together, and the middle of the album it loses me a little bit, and then it picks up again with the title track on to the end, and it really works. I think it was also like, I don't know, I had a really difficult time connecting with the content compared to Tears of Joy, which I fucking loved. I thought Tears of Joy was one of the best projects of what was that last
year? I forget. Was it 2 years ago?
Tears of Joy was last year. War on My Pen was the year before, and then May God Bless Your Hustle was the year before that.
She was on a hell of a run. Yeah.
Right. And I think that, Tears of Joy was probably the peak of his ability to communicate this sort of depressive state. I feel instrumentally he's going a lot of places, but lyrically I couldn't tell what he says on this. That's why the Earl verse is like an oasis at the end when you get to it, because it's a typically amazing Earl verse. And it kind of shows how Earl can do this style and come up with shit that you'll remember, whereas Mike does it and it kind of passes by you at this point, or at least the way he does it on this album.
Yeah,
for sure.
I get that.
His rapping washes over me on this album, which might be the point, but it also makes it kind of a listen that doesn't stick with me in the way his previous stuff did. Because his previous stuff had a mix of his previous stuff had a mix of instrumentals that like wrapped around you and lyrical themes that resonated with me, and the occasional lyric and rap that was still very strong. He was never the lyricist Earl was, but he still had a lyrical component to him. Here, it just feels like the lyrics are, I think you're right, kind of somnambulant, kind of sleepy, kind of just like they're washing over me. They're just there. They're part of the song. It feels like it's good, but it's not resonant ultimately because the words are not hitting me. It doesn't hit like that.
And I think that was, at least I've seen people make the commentary about this album that was purposeful, because this is the coronavirus album. This is the lockdown album. This is the album where everyone's just kind of out of it. And that's what he's trying to capture. He's trying to capture this moment. And in terms of the production and his delivery and everything, it feels like that. And in a sense, I appreciate what he's trying to do. I mean, I can probably pin this album to 2020 if I hear it 10 years from now. But at the same time, I just didn't get as much enjoyment out of it. I still thought that, some of the reviews like Fantano's were just incredibly harsh. I think there's a lot of good content here. It's just the mix is not favorable for me in this instance. And at the same time, I appreciate it, though, because frankly, the beats are quite inventive. I think that a lot of the influences are really fresh, and I would love to hear him do it again. I just don't think he lyrically and vocally really appealed to me as much on this one. Maybe it's a style he shouldn't do, but if he tried a few more songs like this, I think it could be very effective. I think just a whole album of it is problematic. That's just how I felt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a vibe. That's kind of how I feel about Mike albums. They're just like a great vibe. And then along the way, I'll catch some shit that he said. I'm like, God damn. And then I'll forget about it. And the next time I listen to it, I'm like, oh, shit. And so it just, it just depends. But I think it's just definitely a vibe. And I wanted to bring it up just because there's a bunch of that like stuff that came out this year. And I think most of it was good, but not some of our favorite stuff. But the Mike one for me definitely seemed like the standout. And like the Navy Blue record was good, but like outside of the COD track, I don't go back to it, which is not its fault. But the COD track is just like so good, and then the other songs are like good. And when I listen to them, I'm like, yeah, I'm liking this. Navy Blue's good.
I'm higher on the Navy album than you guys. I went back to it for this, and I fucking love the production. I really do. I think it's great, and I think that he's got a great voice for rap. Like, it just sounds very commanding, and it works really well. Sage, I was very surprised. I had really low expectations for the rapping component, but I shouldn't have, because he kills it on some rap songs. Oh, is he on the Mint?
Yeah, he's on the Mint.
Yeah, he's on the Mint. Yeah. That's an amazing moment, but I would say Navy Blue is the God Fahim and Mike is Makami.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could. I mean, I think I like Navy Blue's record a little bit more than God Fahim, but it's. I
mean, I would say that like they both put their own shit. They both have a good voice for rap, but they both have kind of an unvarying sort of flow that's take it or leave it that you grow to like or you don't.
Yeah.
And conscious content that some people find tedious and other people find enlightening. So
I need to hear Mock's Hard Lemonade. I still haven't heard it.
It's a great record.
it's great. I
Great
love
record.
it.
Yeah.
It's a great. I
I was
like
drinking hard lemonade last night. Shout out to Mock Homie.
Were you drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade or actual Hard Lemonade?
No,
You were drinking.
It was absolutely Mike's Hard Lemonade. That's why I made the pun.
Oh, fuck off! Like, why are you drinking that crap? Don't drink. And don't admit that on the air. These are recorded. Don't
These are definitely recorded. That's why I brought it up. Come on now. Don't insult me here.
But I just did insult you blatantly.
I know. That's why I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Myself anything when I said I didn't know the pun Mock's Hard Lemonade was based on Mike's Hard Lemonade on that episode, which makes it look way worse than anything. So
nothing you could say would have been worse.
We definitely have a college student in our midst, when Mike's Hard Lemonade comes up.
I was very much graduated already. But
Oh, gee. Oh, my God.
Close.
Hey, some habits die hard,
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm very.
They do Mike's Harder Lemonade now. I think it's like 6% alcohol, and it comes in a can.
Did you hear there's going to be a Travis Scott alcoholic drink that's like 6% alcohol?
Wait, seriously?
It'll wash down your Travis Scott hamburger.
Yeah, let's see. Travis Scott alcoholic drink. It looks like shit. Of course.
And then you can.
Wait, are they going to sell it at Are they going to sell it at like McDonald's or something too? Or what are we doing?
Yeah, he's releasing a beer called Cacti.
All right. Well,
it would have been funny if it was like an IPA, but it's not.
It's not. I think it's just. Well, maybe no. Well, it's an alcoholic beverage. I think it's it's a malt liquor or something.
I mean,
by the way, anything
when
5%,
rappers used to do ads for St. Ides, they actually put out an album of compilation of the 30-second ads. There's some really good verses on those 30-second ads. Method Man killed his 30-second verse on the St. Ides commercial compilation.
That needs to replace the BET ciphers, the double XL ciphers. We need to do those instead. Because at least there's some, some standard of quality.
Right. St. Ides had standards, unlike BET. So.
Truly.
I forget what I was going to talk about because you started talking about fucking Travis Scott having some dumbass beer. But I had a fucking album I wanted to talk about. How was it?
My only point was that. All right, fine. Go.
Sorry, Pat.
Stepping on my toes all damn fucking afternoon. Like, keep going.
No.
All good. Go for it. I'm sure you have. So I was just closing our discussion after getting roasted about drinking alcohol, 5% alcohol. So I'll
want to call Mike's Hard Lemonade alcohol and not like Shane. That's on you.
I mean, I could give a shit about drinking anything that's like actually heavy. So it's like I
drink Cape Cods if it makes you feel better. I mean, it could be worse.
I mean, I like very easy like hard seltzer. Like this thing that's like fine. Like I'm not like.
You feel about a nice White Claw.
I mean, claws are fine. They're like they're acceptable. They're acceptable. Actually, the black cherry is quite good. So if you want me to be a white 22-year-old for a second, the black cherry is good.
Just for a second, you can be as white and 22 as you want to be, Taylor. It's all good.
Wow, thank you. I'm gonna go make my red now. Back to December out here. You know what I'm saying?
What's your favorite episode of Dave?
The one with the penis, right? Is that what that show's about?
That's the favorite show.
It really,
because it's white.
It really captures the white experience and shows me how it's a struggle.
Truly. I feel persecuted when watching it.
Actually, I do too.
I think we all do.
Like, what did we do to deserve?
Okay. That's the one tragedy of 2020. The only tragedy of 2020, literally the only one, is Lil Dicky has not gotten the COVID.
Or
syphilis.
It's two very different things.
I mean, I'll settle for either.
I mean, I think syphilis would be tough because wouldn't he have to fuck to get syphilis?
I mean, he's always doing those damn condom commercials I hear about.
Lil Dicky having sex is a terrifying thought. I don't want to think about it.
Lil Dicky probably has children.
Little Dicky has a steady girlfriend, apparently, who works on his show.
Lil Dicky absolutely has about 500 times more sex than I've had my whole life. So, you know what? You hate to see it.
You know, Lil Dicky is alive and Michael Brooks is dead. This world is a horrible fucking place.
Terrible, terrible place.
If you ever want to make yourself cry on command, that's what you can think about, is all the people that are dead. And Lil
Dicky's out here cooking, making millions. Ugh, gross. Anyhow, back to albums.
Music we like.
Currency, The Outrunners was my.
Oh, thank God! All right, let's talk about that.
Oh, thank God! All right, yeah, okay.
This shit rules, by the way.
It does. I've been out of the loop. This shit's amazing.
This shit's amazing. Golden Chrome is one of the.
Golden Chrome is the best. Okay, so we were.
There's the bar for coronavirus music.
I would say, yeah, we started off the episode talking about shitty Rona bars. This is the gold standard for coronavirus bars right here. It's like Currency reflecting on the entire situation, how it relates to his child, how it relates to him, over the most soulful beat of the year. All these beats are amazing. This is like Harry Fraud in a zone that... And Harry Fraud's never made a bad beat, by the way.
Never.
He gave gold fucking beats of riffraff, for God's sake.
Harry Fraud never fell off.
And yeah, this is the best Currency Fraud project, I would say. And I include Director's Cut in this because it's just more songs from the same session. Except they were just... I feel like this album would have come out with those songs, except they were waiting on Snoop's verse. And Snoop finally emailed it to them. And at the last second, that's why that came out like it did.
Yeah,
Snoop verse is like emailed in like long distance, lazy as fuck. But the song sounds like Seat Change off of Pilot Talk, so it's like a sequel, so that's cool. Same like guitar solo vibe.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Pilot Talk in a while. As good as it is, as great as it is. I think it's between this or Cigarette Boats for me, for my favorite Currency Fraud. Cigarette Boats I've lived with for such a long time that I would probably take it if I had to. Just because I have like...
Super listenable too, because it's so short.
It's so short, yeah. I don't know, Currency and Fraud are just perfect together, and I think like, I don't know, Golden Chrome, like that beat, just put that beat on a fucking loop, and I could sound good over that beat. Like, which is all... I kind of say that a lot. That's like a testament to how good some of the beats that come out are these days. You're just like, damn, if I could sound good over that, like, that's high praise.
Fraud worked with French Montana for a long time, so I think it's a good litmus test for a beat with Harry Fraud. Like, he worked with somebody who was so substandard that he had to have beats that were so good. French Montana at the beginning of his career would sound good over them to get French Montana paid. So I love
Rick Ross's verse on this project. He's had such a good year for features.
He said you need a dictionary when you write your raps on the Freddie shit, and that was an elite way to start off a verse.
Did I stop the podcast before to yell that people don't like Rick Ross's verse on the Freddie album? If not,
I think you might have done it on the Freddie album, but you might need to do it again.
Yeah, fuck you if you don't like Rick Ross's verse on the fucking Freddie album. That verse is amazing, and it's like people who don't like Rick Ross's verse on Daytona. I think I made the same point the last time I did this. Like, do you not like Rick Ross on Devil in a New Dress?
Yeah. Do you not understand who Rick Ross is?
It's not 2014 anymore. We don't have to pretend we hate Rick Ross because his name's on it. Like, Jesus.
It's so weird to me that like Rick Ross, who's very much like an old head now, and people are still like, oh man, fuck Rick Ross. Like, what? Like, what did Rick Ross do to you?
He wasn't even bad in 2010. He wasn't bad in 2011. No. He was never bad. He had picked great production. Always did. He had a great ear. He's just boring. Like, as far as his content, it's just very basic, but like, who cares? It's vibe.
And he fit over Scotty Beam. So, I mean, Scotty Beam was already a perfect song, but then he just was the perfect feature to get on. Yeah.
I mean, he's a cop. You know, that's the only reason.
He's a cop. I can't think of like better conscious verses than like 2 or 3 of the verses on the end of Port of Miami too. For a cop to come up with some of that shit, that's a pretty fucking that cop is not a bad anymore.
Rick Ross saying a cab.
The taint has faded. You know, it's like.
You think? Well, I mean, Vegas Residency is what you're referring to, right, Pat?
Yeah, listen to the interview and I want to cry. But he has like a few, like when he talks about his heart attack too, like 2 or 3 prior to that.
Yeah, talk about like battling with diabetes and stuff.
Yeah, where he talks about what he would eat versus like he doesn't want to eat like rich shit. He'd rather just eat like crap with like his people versus like sitting in a fancy restaurant.
Right.
That sort of stuff. Like,
we're not going to get a Rick Ross project like the last Fonte album where he's just talking about being old and how he needs to watch his weight or he's going to die, you know.
It's real uplifting stuff. Drake heard that and was like, I can't sound like Fonte anymore. I'm not.
I fucked with that album, by the way. That was one of the great like geriatric rap albums that I've heard.
I mean, Fonte like been the most old rapper since like, I mean, he named his like group Lil Brother, but Fonte's always been rapping like an old man. He's always been complaining about shit. Like, I mean, I love Fonte, but like, he's always like his lady songs are not like a young dude spitting game. They're always like a guy in a relationship bitching about being in a relationship.
He's like, I got to take out the trash on Wednesdays now.
Like, Leave It All Behind is like a fucking marriage breakup album. Like,
I left the lube. What am I gonna do now? You know.
He's like, I pissed off my wife, so now it's gonna be.
I'm sleeping on the couch. What the fuck?
I'm sleeping on the couch,
That if I ever make a rap album, that's what I'm gonna end up writing.
Yeah, like, my wife hasn't looked attractive to me in like 6 years.
Perhaps Here, My Dear.
That's a classic. That's a classic. If I ever make Here, My Dear, I can die happy.
Yeah, we're lucky both of our wives don't listen to our dumbass podcast.
Oh yeah, they got better shit to do.
I don't anticipate getting married, so I don't think I'll have that problem.
Not
until you stop drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade, then.
That's just
you gotta stop the wild ways. These 3 or 4 Mike's Hard Lemonades.
I drink way more like hard cider and stuff, but I do like any
other
kind of.
Yo, chill. Ciders?
Ciders are good. Why is this a tape?
% ABV ciders?
Oh, yeah.
Killah's more animal than man.
I don't know what we. This is now an intervention.
Can't be. I mean, am I gonna get shit on for liking like some ciders? And they're killing me out here, getting crushed. I didn't know Patrick was an elitist.
I only drink like 2 like double IPA Imperials. I'm sorry, this is.
I
drink this motherfucker. That's it.
Patrick, that sounds extremely unpleasant. Okay, I've had some IPAs before.
It sounds like medical procedure, but
IPA is like taking a tap to the side of a tree and then just sucking it down.
Yeah.
I heard it described as drinking soap in A Christmas Story.
But it makes you a real man, so that evens it out, right? Because there's nothing we want to be not men, right? In 2020.
Sure. They're definitely drinking IPAs at all those like maskless rallies to prove their man.
Oh, they're definitely doing it. And those motorcycle rallies, yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I don't, but I'm not like a huge beer person anyway. Like, I mean, I fuck with like Blue Moon.
No, ciders are actually cool. My wife loves ciders. I enjoy ciders too. So I'm just giving you shit because it's easy to give you shit. But
it is.
It tastes like sparkling apple juice to me. I mean, whatever.
That's the thing. I'm not like a massive alcohol person. So no, I don't need to be knocked out of my seat drinking whatever I'm drinking. That sort of thing. So anyhow, alcohol tangent aside.
Possibly back to music somehow because I forget even what album we were talking about.
We were talking about the Outrunners.
Oh yeah, Outrunners is fucking great. No one listens to Currency, but they should. Director's Cut is the same sessions with one Snoop Dogg verse that he emailed in. Still really great.
Still good.
Yeah, he put out a bunch of shit this year. All of it's good, but this is the standout, and this is the best thing he's put out since Fetty.
Yep.
I would say.
The last bit of project I heard for the record was 2009, which is kind of funny because I felt like that was an age and a half ago, but it really wasn't. It was last year, and he's put out like 8 albums since then.
It was another really, really solid record.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just hard to listen to now, though, because it's a really fun record. And
yeah.
I think, like, even the fucking Currency album's not that fun. Like, it's like a lot of his albums are structured like movies. It's like an action movie. It's got kind of like again, I'm going to talk about musical palettes. I wouldn't say a gray palette to it, but like it's not as lively as a lot of his albums. Like 2009 is very lively. I wouldn't say that's lively, like because no one's fucking happy right now.
No, certainly not me. So I'll speak for the podcast.
I'll co-sign that. Although I did just buy a house, so I'm happy about that.
And I just moved to a new apartment in a great neighborhood, and I'm just like, it's just like I feel bad about feeling happy. It's weird.
I could just promotion at my job too. So actually, I am fucking happy with it.
Wow, look at this. We got people love to see it. You love to see it. You really do.
We really earned it, right, Pat? Like our suffering has finally paid off.
I would say there's been a lot of suffering on this podcast, and yeah. So you should record this podcast for when we bitch for the next 20 episodes about how horrible life is. So
our fucking jobs and our horrible homes,
Right.
It just presents new problems, right? That's what happiness does. That's what it's the message.
Everybody's like, wow, you guys remember that time?
About this, but
I haven't said an album in a while.
Yeah, we haven't sent them. Do you guys listen to Vic Spencer at all?
I did not.
I did not.
No one did. He put out like 3 albums this year. He put out Psychological Cheat Sheet with August Fanon, who also put out a series of albums with Iceberg Theory. That if you're into the whole Jay Electronica, Killah Priest stuff, I would definitely recommend that. Shout out to Choran Suka from RYM, Broccoli Bundles from the Ruby Yacht Chat, who turned me on to them. All that shit's great. But yeah, Vic put out that album, and he put out something else I forget, but he put out most recently Spencer for Hire 3 with him and Sonny Jim, and a bunch of great features, really varied stuff. Psychological Cheat Sheet, obviously, as judging by the title, is a little more introspective, but he's very much he actually has on one of his albums a co-sign from Sean Price. He's one of the few rappers that Price co-signed, and yeah, he's essentially like that sort of rapper, where it's like he's a punchline guy who's sarcastic as fuck, but smart. And he'll give you a story song. He'll give you a little more depth, but he's also just going to make fun of you and talk about smoking weed a lot of the time. And he has great taste in producers. Like August Fanon, has produced a lot of the best shit on Arm & Hammer, if you've heard that. And he does all of Psychological Cheat Sheet. It's really jazzy, laid back stuff. Highly recommend that. Sonny Jim has done stuff with Griselda satellite artists like Estionok. And I'm going to mention a bunch of rappers that nobody here has listened to, so I'm not going to bother. But, rappers in that scene. So, yeah, he has, really good taste in producers, really distinctive rapping style, really funny. I would recommend just checking him out. All his projects are of really digestible length, just really easy listens. More depth than you would expect at first, but mostly funny. If you're into Droog too, that sort of thing, he's got that, but he's not as arrogant as Droog, but he's playing confident. So yeah, check him out.
Yeah, definitely. I know I should, because I've seen you talk about.
Probably heard him on stuff before, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He has a very distinctive voice. It's kind of raspy. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who to compare him to, but yeah, Sean Price is the best comparison I can think of. Again, he has that. He has a big Ghost project called The Ghost of Living. I think that would be the best starting point. Big Ghost put out a bunch of shit this year. Carpe Noctem, Conway album. He had the Conway album.
No One Mourns the Wicked is on my wish list. I have not gotten to it yet.
Patrick, what do you think about it?
I like it. I think I like the Alchemist Conway better, but this one's good. It's on the rock influence side of Big Ghost instrumentals more. It's probably the most rock influenced Griselda album, I would say. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the earliest Mock Hami stuff, in terms of that, like live instrumentation feeling. It's definitely trying to push Conway into rapping differently, which I think is more. He's trying to stand out more, I think, as opposed to just being like a hard street rapper, because I think it's more of a competition between the three of them now this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, they're all raising the bar for each other.
Right. And I think Pray for Paris is definitely the standard among them. And well, how do we feel about the Conway album? Like the proper Conway album, not the Big Ghost one.
From a
King to a God?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the bar. For me, I think that's as far as they push the sound. That's my favorite. I think it's an excellent project.
I like it better than Pray for Paris.
I do. Well, Westside drives me up the wall.
Okay. You don't like Westside. All right, let's talk about that.
Damn, he doesn't like Westside?
I mean, I like Westside's projects. Westside as a rapper.
Well, that's
better on features.
That's why I'm interested in hearing about it, because I used to be the same way, but I grew to like Westside's personality, because Westside has that Danny Brown quality to him. Like
well, I mean, Danny's fucking hilarious. I mean,
he's not as smart as Danny, but he has that same sort of like it's obnoxious till you like it, but I like Danny sooner than I like Westside.
Like Westside's just got a great ear for beats. Like that's a huge help. I always enjoy his projects. I love the production on those projects so much. It kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say it all blends together for me a little bit, because I haven't heard the new tape yet. I haven't heard the most recent. I heard Fly God 2, and I heard Pray for Paris, and I thought Fly God 2 was actually a little underrated. I think people went too hard on that one. For what was honestly not a huge step backward, I thought it was just a little less substantive. There was a lot of filler on that project, but
there were like 38 interludes. So
yeah, that's really the problem. But the actual songs when they came through were fine. It didn't bother me, but it wasn't a step forward. Maybe it was just oversaturation. But I thought actually Fly God 2 was fine. Just a little disappointing because Pray for Paris was, in my opinion, his best in quite a while. So it certainly is one of his most easily ingested and really it came through. And I really love the Tyler track. That's one of my favorites of the year.
Great song.
I love that song.
The Boldy song is incredible.
Yeah, the Tyler and Boldy songs are the big highlights on there for me.
Well, and the Freddie song.
And the Freddie song. Like I feel like again, like I can see the argument that he needs a feature to truly make it interesting. Because we've all mentioned tracks with features.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean it's just you either like it or you either love it or you don't. I mean, he just has a style, which is fine. I mean, I like him on features. It makes me smile when he comes through with his ad libs and he just comes in hard and it's fun. It's fun, dude. But on a whole project, it's just I don't know. There's just a little something that keeps it down, like compared to King to a God, which I thought was the most polished of a lot of these projects. I was very impressed.
Method best verse on.
Yeah.
Method Man has my favorite verse on the album.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think that song and the Griselda song are the best songs.
Yeah, Method. That's the thing. Is like, I like the album a lot, but I feel like the fact that features have the best songs, best verses on that versus his previous two, makes it feel like less his project.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it,
but it's still an excellent project. I don't know. It just.
Yeah, I kind of
individual stamp than the other two.
I think you step your game up if you have good features. I mean, that's also part of it. I think that they play off each other. You pick better beats. You know who's going to be. This is going to be a great track. You have to pick it up, and I think that helps a lot. I mean, they're not going to be filler tracks. They're going to be. I need to come through. I got Freddie on this. You know, it's time for me to pick it up, and I think that makes a big difference. I don't want to just say like he needs a feature, because I mean Westside's not boring to listen to. He's not. He just is who he is. He has a style, and if you're not into it, you're not into it. I remember a lot of reviews for like Supreme Blientele or I don't know, the first Fly God project. And it's like, yeah, people shitting on Westside and his ad libs and just how he's driving with the wall. Whatever the last Griselda album was, I can't think of the name of it. The one that came out last year.
Shine Good. What would Shine Good do?
Yeah.
So much complaining about Westside in that project.
Complaining was annoying me. I wanted to complain about their complaining. Like that was not.
So it's kind of interesting to me that Pray for Paris has been received so well. After that, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting that he has had actually a fair amount of commercial success. One of my best friends is a Westside. He's Stan. Like, he absolutely loves him. And he's texting me about the new projects and stuff. I'm like, I'll get to it. But he's finding his way, and I think that's pretty interesting. He's carved out his own niche. I definitely don't hate Westside, but as you know, for me, I'm more of a Conway guy, I guess, at this point. I found myself to be that case because I think he's come through with a bunch of great projects this year, and Boldy too. You know, I think it's been a really great year for Griselda, and Westside has come up to the top with some of the most successful. I think Pray for Paris is definitely the standout for a lot of people. But for me, I think Conway's is the top.
I can see that. I think Pray for Paris is probably the one that sticks with people more because Conway's verses are less assuming than Westside's. I feel like Westside hits you more initially, but Conway has you. Westside is a stronger first impression, but Conway is something you'll have on repeat more.
Mm.
And I think like Major on McNichols will be the same thing. I think that project is going to have...
Major on McNichols will stick with you more. Major on McNichols is like, I don't really think Desert Island album, but it's definitely a more replayable album. And that, again, like you have to consider the circumstances in which that was recorded. Those are 10 years worth of Boldy's best verses, not just like one session he knocked out of. Even Pray for Paris was something Westside knocked out over a couple of weeks. This is Boldy's best over a decade of time. So, one thing I wanted to touch on real quick was I mentioned this to Optimal. I don't think it related to you. I don't think Optimal listened to it either, but Milo's crewmate and Ruby Safari Al putting out an album, Safari Al Fortnights in the Scallops Hotel, long ass album title, Fiona Apple ass album title. Something about an orange grove tree. Really fucking good. Most recent Safari album. The only album that Milo's done beats for another rapper for. Highly recommend you guys listen to it, since I know you haven't. It's basically like a Milo album without quite as sharp a sense of humor. A little more rappy, but still the same vibe. Beats you really don't... The sort of beats you don't really hear people rapping over. Like, if you know a Scallops Hotel project, that's like the sort of things that only Milo would rap, like, produce for himself. So it's interesting to hear somebody else rap over that sort of stuff and do it well, very technically, but not like there's vibes also of like Mike Eagle on there too. Like, it kind of strikes me as something that would have come out in the same time that Dark Comedy and Perfect Hair and Toothpaste Suburb came out. So if you're into all that stuff, you really like this album. Same sort of vibe, same sort of sonic palette. Very good album. I bought it on Bandcamp. I recommend everybody else do the same. And also, I said I would do this in the Rubiot chat, but what the fuck is this guy's name? It's a producer who was nice enough to share his album with me and everybody else in the chat room on the Rubiot chat, and it's one of the better beat tapes I've heard this year. I've actually, embarrassingly enough, forgot his name. It's Guilt Milk by Space Mayor on Bandcamp, and I will try and get the link to Wyatt so he can put it in the description. It's, again, if you're into that same sort of sound as the Scallops Hotel album, same sort of stuff you would like. So I could talk about beat tapes for hours. I'm not really going to bore everybody with that in the course of this episode, but another really good beat tape. So Space Mayor, Guilt Milk. What's been going on with the Screwman Flame beat tapes?
They've been
the radio ones, the things you can put out.
Well, they're kind of like DJ mixes / beat tapes, depending on the one. And he's dropped a bunch of them. He like Screwman Flame as shout out to Chris, aka 108 Mics, famously said, just dip from the internet for a while. And then he came back recently with a bunch of beat tapes, singles, beat tapes, DJ mixes, all the above. It's all like Hoodwitch Radio. And like, yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's one of the volumes, apparently the one that's supposed to be the best one, which I haven't heard. And he just dropped one last week too. I think it was last week that I haven't heard. He's dropped a bunch of them. They're just kind of like, I know I'm not the first, like, I know Look a Ghost, aka John, made this joke, but like, they're like his lo-fi beats to study to, but they're really just like 10-15 minute beat tapes where it's like beats that run into each other, and they're all just like dark beats to vibe out to, and that's really what they are. And it's like, it's cool. Apparently some of the ones that are supposed to be really good I actually have not heard yet. There's like 2 of them that are, I mean, they only have 4 ratings, but they have much better ratings than the other ones, so I have to listen to those.
Well, I'm just glad he's putting shit out, because I thought like he retired because the industry burnt him the fuck out. So I'm glad to see.
I think most people did. I didn't know he was going to come back. I mean, Look a Ghost is the Screw Mainframe expert, and I don't know if he thought he was going to come back.
Yeah. When he assumed, like, he posted a bunch of bum shit in his log that Screw Mainframe retired and pulled all his shit from the internet, so I assumed that was it. So just want to get it out there if anybody's there is new Screw Mainframe, Hoodwitch Radio. I have not listened to any of them yet. But.
Yeah, there's like at least 6 volumes, like there, and then there's another like Return of the Flame. There's a couple volumes too. So it's just like I said, it's a lot of like 10-15 minute like beat tapes, and timestamps are kind of hard to come by. So I'm just putting it on and letting it run. It's kind of how I've done it.
One thing that when you gave me the list that Trav sent you, that he asterisked, I think he only asterisked 2 or 3 things, but one was by Backxwash. God has to do it, leave him out of it. And I talk about that because I also listened to that, and that was really fucking good.
Yeah, that was going to be the one I was going to pick. Well, actually, before we got to that, I was going to ask if you guys wanted to talk about Pearl Moonlight pages, or if that's going to be something you want to talk about at the end of the year.
Well, no, we didn't. I'll talk about it at the end of the year too, but I can talk about that now. That'd probably be a better thing to talk about coming out of the Safari Owl thing, because that was, Scallops, Milo. So, yeah, we can talk about Purple Moonlight pages first, because that's a great fucking album. And shout out to Milo. Rory did the first live performance I've seen since quarantine was a virtual performance he did of a full album performance of So the Flies Don't Come last Sunday, which was
cool.
Really good. So that was, that's the first one of those I've seen. And I'm trying to think of any other ones I wanted to see. I know Got It by Voices did a concert, but it was like $35. Milo only charged $12, so the price was right. And he did the whole album, and he kind of said he didn't really want to do the song that was about Bus Driver, but he did it anyway. So, read into that what you will. I think you can read that he thinks Bus Driver's an asshole, which, obviously. And the line where he says smacks to Mac Millers, he changed to prayers for Mac Millers. That was nice. And it was a great performance of the whole album. So if you're in the Rubaiyat chat, it's in the archive now. So shout out to the Rubaiyat chat once again. But Purple Moonlight Pages is not my favorite of his projects, but it's up there. It's definitely the most indebted to like 90s jazz rap, I would say. Like
Freestyle Fellowship, that type of and Tribe,
Tribe, Farside. Definitely, like I said on a previous podcast, an album that feels like it needs to be played outside. Like
you didn't get. I got some Diggable Planets from it too, but that's. I
can see that too. It's
a different kind of jazz from like I don't know, Kamasi, Kendrick type of shit. It's not that type of jazz.
It feels just much more like that shit feels like driven and composed. This feels loose and improvisatory. Like very off the cuff, very just like chilling in a park as opposed to composed to make a point.
Mm.
A little hazier. Yeah, definitely got the 90s feel, yeah.
And just the wonderful production, very open, very airy. Great choice of feature, Mike Eagle, and Mike Ladd.
Idea is a work of art. One of my favorite songs of the year. Very impassioned, very great song.
Folding Clothes. Fuck you, J. Cole. He actually made a good song about folding clothes.
Yeah, made a great song about folding clothes.
Idea is a work of art is one of the best songs of the year. It's hard for me to think of individual songs out of this because I just kind of let it play. When I throw it on, I let it play. It's about a little under an hour, I believe, like 45 minutes to an hour, and it just feels relaxed. I don't know. It's probably his most comfortable project because I feel like Toothpaste Suburb is... If you read the stories behind that, it was something that was in a relationship that he thought he was comfortable in, but ended up failing. And also, there's a lot of shouts to Hellfire on there. Hellfire's a relationship that ended up failing. And the instrumentals on that are like all electronic, but they're glitchy. So it's kind of a sound that feels very inorganic. And everything he's done since then has been more and more going towards an organic sound. And less towards a mannered way of rapping, more and more towards an off the cuff. Because he used to be very like structured in the way he rapped, where it was like very sort of like, here's this dense reference I'm making, here's this like structured flow. And I'm not saying this is an insult because I love those Milo records, but he raps differently now. And he's indebted to those 90s influences, but I feel like he goes back to those influences to find a looser way of rapping, to feel more comfortable with the way he wants to express himself.
Well, I mean, the way he packs in syllables, he does very well in spoken word. And I thought that was really interesting when I was listening to this project for the first time. It was one of the first projects of the year that really got me emotionally. It was very interesting because it's not a very emotional record per se. There's a lot of content on there that kind of goes in that route. It's a little personal, but I think it's just the style of the production and the influences really got me as a fan of 90s rap, mixed with just the openness of his writing and the delivery. I felt it grabbed me in a way that a lot of rap projects at that point in the year had not. And so it still stands out. And yeah, the free flowing spoken word almost style that he does works great because people always give him shit for how packed his verses are. And then like he sounds too intellectual, he's trying too hard. But honestly, it's just great poetry here. And it works wonderfully. It feels like he's talking to you. And I think that works in his favor on this project more so than almost anything he's done before, which is one of the reasons one of my favorite projects by him. I think So the Flies Will Come is probably my favorite, but this is close. And again, great influences. I think he really found a good style here, and I'm glad that he picked a different moniker for it, because I do think that his style of rapping is a little different, and it is substantively so. But I think fans of Milo will also enjoy this a lot.
Well, I think if you listen to the last Milo on Budding Ornithologist...
Well, yeah.
Very long album title, again, Dionapolous album title. He... basically, the last track on there, the whole thing is like a funeral for Milo as a rapper, as his rapper persona Milo. And then he moves on to R.A.P. Ferreira, which is like his initials, Rory Allen Philip Ferreira. Or one with the initials Rap.
Yeah.
Like he has the line like, my mama named me Rory, I was born to perform the sorcery. Like he was literally born to rap. So, like, yeah, I feel like he's just become more and more like I feel like he's a anxious, nerdy, smart person who has a natural rapping ability that he was outwardly uncomfortable in, and he kind of hid behind references. And he's become more and more comfortable through his career rapping, and this is like the end point of it, or at least the current state of where he's at. Like this is his most comfortable performance yet.
Yeah, agreed. It makes a big difference because that kind of self-consciousness is kind of love it or hate it. And I definitely loved it. I got on with it really well from the beginning. Toothpaste Suburb and all that, it just got me. But, now it reaches the point of maturation. I think it's very effective. And I like to see that this project's getting a lot of acclaim. Not in the mainstream press. Maybe next time. I don't know if he ever will. But in our circles, certainly it's getting a lot of love, and I definitely would say it's one of the best rap projects of the year. That and Alfredo, probably my two favorites, and I would say they're hanging around my top 10 for all genres of music this year, and I'll definitely bring it up again as I spend more time with it. It's a very dense project in terms of the writing, and there's a lot to take in, but again, it flows so well. Like, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It's just you can come back to it and you'll get a lot out of it. So to me, that makes it a very rich project.
Yeah, no, I think you guys summed it up. I mean, it's a great record. I don't know. I haven't listened to it that much, to be honest. It's just not something that, like, you know, if I did put it on, I'd be like, yeah, this is great. But I don't have that itch to listen to it necessarily, which is no fault of the artist. Once again, it's a lot of damn music out there nowadays, and it's just like a mood thing a lot. But yeah, definitely get a lot of different, like, far.
Too much of life is mood.
Too much of life. Seriously.
It's the heavy fucking truth.
It's really it is. But
you'll have your jazz rap moment. You know, we all do. You'll have your day. You know what to listen to.
Rap. I love it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Some of my 5 stars are jazz rap. No, I mean, I just like.
Mike's Hard Lemonade, listening
to jazz rap.
Reading the Pitchfork John Coltrane review and all it.
You know, shit, Cat. What do you want me to do? It's great. It's great stuff.
I was watching some Steven Seagal videos, some making fun of him, and people don't realize this, but he talks like a jazz man now. He talks like the Pitchfork John Coltrane review in his movies. Like, he's slowly tried to become a black man over like his last like 8, 9, 10 movies.
I mean, he did try. He made a blues album. Like, he has tried to subsume the blues. So
he's become the blues.
I mean, he looks like he ate Leadbelly, that's for sure. And then he fucking made a blues album, but it has like electric guitars on it and modern production and shit, and like a song with like a Pitbull feature or something. I don't fucking know.
Great minds, you know.
With a Pitbull feature. God damn. There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Pitbull or Steven Seagal?
Either.
Well, see, that's what they hooked up for, to really remind you of who Mr. Worldwide is. You know, Mr. Worldwide, and a man who's larger than the whole world. Worldwide. That tripped me out though, and I never noticed. He's tried to become the blues, and he's sitting down. He probably sits down. He sits down when he plays. You know, hunched over his guitar. You know, he hunches over his sniper rifle.
He sits down when he does most things. I imagine he owns a Segway.
I've seen a lot of Segways since I moved to this neighborhood full of white people, and full like, and just it's really uncomfortable. You know, I don't want to run them over, but I do. You know.
God. Too good.
Life's fucking weird, dude.
I can't think of an album to transition.
Well, I know that we want to talk about Backxwash initially, but
we're gonna talk about. Did you finally listen to Backxwash? Because I wasn't sure if you had.
The Backxwash. That's how we were going to talk about that. I don't know how we got into talking about Steven Seagal and running over white people on Segways. I mean, but
that's the segue.
I was gonna say
it was a segue to this, yes. But
I heard Material Girl and Backxwash, those records, pretty early because I saw them highly on the charts, and that was like, I was like, oh, what's this? Like, that's kind of how I got to them. I don't know how Traviud.
Which is a killer for new albums. You know, people see them and they go, oh, what's this? And then they give like a 1. Isn't that good? And then it ends up with like a 3 after having like a 3.7, and you're just like, what the fuck? And it never comes back. Like,
Charlie, it never recovers.
Technical death metal, 1.5 stars. Moving on. But
I never give that technical death metal record that's ranked like 3rd all time, or not all time, but like the year. I never listen to that with any sort of like preconceived notion that just because it's not technical death metal, it can't be good.
This is the first year I've actively excluded metal from the charts when I'm looking through the charts because there's a fuckload of it this year.
It's a lot.
And a lot, yeah.
Some of it's dope.
Beat album only has 10 blast beats in it, 3.5 stars.
That Deftones album is good though. I don't fucking care.
That Deftones album,
Fuck Fantano. Yeah, Fantano's
that shit slaps. I don't care what the fuck he says.
That's
great album. Deftones have never made a bad album, and their worst are their first two. So yeah,
that album is top 3 Deftones. That
for sure.
I won't go that far, but it's good. It's very good.
It's probably I would put it 3rd. I don't know.
I like their Koinoyo Con shit. Like I like their later shit more.
But that would be my second. That was
yeah. Like I don't know. I never got on with White Pony like that. I like their later stuff more. But yeah.
I think Saturday Night Risk gets a bad rap.
It does. Okay.
Because of the cover art.
Don't forgive Pink Cell Phone for some reason. Pink Cell Phone is really stupid, but people just don't like whatever. White Pony has Back to School on it. Your issue of White Pony probably has Back to School on it. Don't pretend like it doesn't. So yeah.
How they survived the 90s? Like these people, what are they doing? Like in the 90s, all these albums were full of just garbage filler songs that were like stuck at the ends of albums that were like 10 fucking minutes of silence and then some
people
bullshit.
Of My Dark Twisted Fantasy that have Big Sean on them.
People probably have that complaint. Yes.
So
yeah.
Backxwash.
I mean, I was just in terms of like stuff that Backxwash is on RYM, which brings me to this other discussion. Albums made by people on RYM this year were really good.
Like, who are they on RYM?
Oh gosh, they're in the comment box.
Oh well, I should be nice about it. Nah, like even if they were like a shitty asshole, their album's still great. Kind of the same thing I said about Celestiphone. Like even if Celestiphone was a piece of shit, their music's still great. But
no, I don't think. Yeah, I think every comment I read from who I presume to be Backxwash was not anything bad at all. It was nice. It was people like complimenting them, and then they were like, thank you.
That's refreshing, especially since it's an album by a woman. Yeah.
Shut up! Don't let them know.
Don't tell the community about. But I was
gonna ruin it. Yeah, no.
The Backxwash album, like I mean, I know you guys probably haven't listened to this, but like Fax Gang, that EP that like randomly popped off on RYM, that was made by RYMers, like that was cool and that was high in the charts. Like artists on RYM like making cool music. It's nice.
What was that album that with like Kevin from Ed, Edd n Eddy on it? What was that from? Was that made by an RYM member?
What album are you talking about?
Dorkcore 101 or whatever the fuck it was called.
Oh, jeez.
Was that made by? I feel that had to have been made by someone with a Radio Music account.
I've listened to a bunch of music made by people with RYM accounts this year. I don't know if that was one of them.
That had a really high score for a while. It was like maybe it was last year.
I probably. I can't remember it.
That was with me. Sorry.
No, check it out. No, it's really. It's really funny.
Wait a minute.
It's just like there's Kevin and the Bikes.
Oh! I haven't heard this, but I know. But I've heard of it.
Yeah. This is last year. Yeah, it's got like fucking 700 ratings.
Yeah, the genres are all over the goddamn place.
It's what is it like 3 hours long? 2 hours long? Something?
It's 101 tracks.
101 track, yes. So this is not something you listen to in one sitting unless you're having a really bad day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't listen to Rate Your Music very often. When I do, I have rated it. I keep it. And then at the end of the year, I don't usually include it on my list. But then sometimes I'll give it a special mention.
There's a section of the community that like is really like into certain like sounds and genres that also like makes that stuff too. So I've just
bubblegum bass type shit.
I mean, really, just like a hybrid of like it's the hybrid of like a bunch of different stuff on SoundCloud.
The Swans and Carly Rae Jepsen.
That would be interesting.
It depends if they're making something I would like otherwise, and then it spills over because I see it on RYM because I'm looking up that genre. But I'm not going to look up something just because it's an RYM artist, even though I believe in supporting RYM artists. So that's kind of how I am on it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take. I think there's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it depends on the like situation. Like, there have been some artists whose stuff I've listened to, where it's like, because I know like going into it, like what it's gonna sound like, I'm probably gonna like it. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, it's like Witch House Cloud Rap hybrid. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna like this.
I forget what the song sounds like, but shout out to valued Discord user Ellie's track "Fuck You, Richard Spencer," which is in my 5 stars, and I still stand by that. Fuck you, Richard Spencer.
True.
I think we can all stand by that 5 stars. So, but yeah.
think we can stand proudly on that.
I'm surprised he hasn't come up with some dumb shit to show up in the news yet. Oh, like, I'm surprised he wasn't at the confirmation hearing and got COVID. Actually, like something like yeah. Spencer's here too. Wait, why is Richard Spencer? What?
Richard Spencer's here? What? Yeah, I am actually surprised that he didn't make it about him and how he's.
Also, I'm surprised Roger Stone doesn't have COVID. Actually, Roger Stone is never going to die, so that doesn't surprise me. But
I don't know who has COVID and who doesn't, because I don't fucking believe consistent year after year liars. Like, that's my thing. I'm just like, who do I believe? Like, do I believe someone on the internet, on Reddit, who, like, claims to have the ability to, like, read minds, or do I believe a fucking liar? Huh.
Well, do you believe liars are people on the internet?
Right. Do I believe liars or idiots? It's a tough one. It's like, I don't know.
Definitely very difficult. Like, just a lot going on.
And,
but anyway, but Backxwash's album is quite good.
Yeah, I recommend everybody listen to it. It's really unique. It's kind of in terms of like the internet collage sound sort of thing, since it is an RYM user, kind of reminds me, now that you mentioned that, of Death of Pablo a little bit in terms of the dark soundscapes. If anybody remembers that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. Another album that got downvoted to hell after charting very highly for like a week.
Right.
And then everyone checked it out because of the Kanye connection. They said, well, this doesn't sound like Kanye. And the next thing you know, it's down there. But honestly, as far as its use of noise, I thought it was really creative, and I'm glad someone did it.
Oh, no. That album's excellent, and you shouldn't just listen to it like, wait a minute. Really, Kanye? Well, where's Kanye? What? No. Like, yeah, no. It's the same sort of... I get the same sort of, like, collage vibe off of it. Like, I don't want to say plunderphonics necessarily. I mean, Death Pablo is plunderphonics, if you want to use that term. This is less so, but in terms of like building a dark wall of noise, I get the same sort of like kindred spirit vibe from this that I do from that.
As someone who does I came up from some of the 80s rap rock shit because, when you first get into hip hop, you listen to stuff that people tell you is like classic, right? So I listened to a lot of the early BC Boys stuff and some of the early, there was a very common style back then to just kind of slap a Van Halen guitar riff over some 808s, and then that was a beat. So to me, hearing some of these, frankly, rock-influenced beats, I fucking love what they did with them. There's a Black Sabbath sample here, that When the Levee Breaks drum beat that's so overdone, but sounds fucking great every time. Yes. It slaps so fucking hard. That amazing Elegy sample, Patti Smith. Oh my God. Like, that is so atmospheric and well done. I would love to hear more of her production on other stuff. But this project especially grabs me because of the religious content, because I have a religious background. And to hear her story about her discovering, her gender and all these struggles, and especially the closing track about forgiveness, I find all of that incredibly powerful. And when you combine it with the stuff about like dark magic and just, you'd think it'd be kind of like edgy, right? But in the context of what this is going with all this religious content as well, it's really potent. And I find that great.
I agree with you 1,000%. I also have a religious background, if you want to frame it that way. And this is a sort of subject matter that was just verboten. Like, this was not discussed. And this sort of thing, like, to be addressed, like, I can only imagine what it's like for her coming up in this background and then to have to verbalize this. Like, this seems like the only, like, applicable, appropriate sonic background for this sort of story. And I agree wholeheartedly. It's
a fucking occult album about coming up through your as experience gender dysphoria. It's incredible. Like conceptually, if I had known that's what it was, I would have jumped on it even faster. I think I found it through Fantano. I'm not sure. I think it was just doing well on the charts, and then it popped off.
It was doing on the web. It was doing well on the charts first.
Yeah.
It had an organic following first because they had
her EP run was great.
Yeah, they had she had an established a fan base.
Yeah,
I'm actually glad that I didn't know that was the content going into it, because just having been blindsided by that, like, makes it that much more affecting to me. Like, kind of getting smacked upside the head by that. This is what the story is, and she's very consistent about it throughout the course of the album.
Yeah, it's the occult, it's these concepts. It's like, okay, these samples are, of course, mixing Black Sabbath in with, Black Magic is nothing crazy. It's the same concept they've been doing since the 70s, but it works incredibly well because of, this is like this heretical material. And when you really peel it back and you figure out where this is coming from, it's even better. And so to me, that's why this project still sticks. It's going to rank very highly for me, which is a huge surprise. I never know to expect an album I'm going to love. I don't go into albums, especially albums that are in, like, horrorcore I like a lot. But this isn't just horrorcore. This is horrorcore with a real purpose behind it, and like this anger of that's coming from something personal. It's not like she's putting on, a mask. It's not that at all. It's the exact opposite. And I found that very potent.
This is not Eminem threatening to beat the Octomom with her percent.
Like, no.
There's what I think is really potent about this album is not the reference points that she uses. Like, one of the things about it is the story she's telling, like, using horrorcore, like, it's not Goblin. Like, Goblin used a lot of horrorcore tropes, and it got very tiresome, and they felt very inauthentic. This is, like, half the length, but it kind of touches on the same stuff, but it uses it a lot more potently. And then, but if you think about it, it's kind of telling the same story Tyler told over Flower Boy. But it's not, I don't know where I just kind of pulled this out of my ass, but it felt like kind of, you don't have this without the Odd Future stuff, but she's doing a lot of the same stuff Tyler did a lot better. Without a lot of the self-conscious, arty posing stuff Tyler did, at least behind the horrorcore quote-unquote element. Because I never even thought of this as horrorcore, by the way, listening to it. That never occurred to me.
It is musically horrorcore at any rate. It is hardcore hip-hop with these metal samples and rock samples and this kind of cult content. It is, in a way.
I see what you're saying, but it's also like, I wouldn't, like, would you call, like, Atrocity Exhibition horrorcore?
Would you? Yeah, some people call it a post-punk album because, I mean,
okay,
because guys, it references Joy Division, so it has to be.
Don't rate your music. Pretend that site doesn't exist. I don't know. It just feels the same way. It's like just a picture of somebody else, like psyche, and their story, their personal story. So, like, when I think horrorcore, I think of, like, Esham or Isham, I don't know how you pronounce that guy's name, or, like, early ICP, or early Eminem, or, like, Eminem doing something on, like, 3 a.m., or where you're, like, consciously painting, like, a cinematic sort of, like, very much divorced from reality. I'm not actually the one going through this. That's horrorcore.
Yes. And I think maybe there's an expansion of the genre. What do you consider the new clipping material to be? Like the last 2 albums?
Mid.
I mean, well, like, noise, dark ambient in terms of you want to actually get in the weeds of like what the instrumentally they're doing. Lyrically, it's all over the place. Like, I think he really does play with genres. I also think he doesn't know how to write a song, so he just throws all the shit at the wall. And I like some of the shit they do, but other times I just think he really does, like, lyrically just not know how to construct a fucking song. I haven't heard the new one, by the way. People love it. But
They do.
Yeah, it's out there. I have it, but I have not heard it. But yeah, I don't know. I did not think of it as like a horrorcore thing whatsoever, but I could see how people like. Is that a genre on it? Is that like a primary on it?
It is, yeah.
I don't.
Industrial's the main. Industrial pop's the main.
Yeah.
Which is also a little off, but I guess that's right. I don't know. Again, I think this is bringing something new to these genres, and so it exists.
The fact that it's bringing something new is what's most important. Is like forcing us to reconsider what we consider as the genre.
Right. Because it certainly has horrific quality in terms of like horror films, in terms of horror media. I think there's certainly an influence there. It needs to be at least a subgenre because it comes through in a number of the tracks. Just the occult content alone, but then like I know it comes into something where it's gathering of the juggalos type shit, So it's expanding the boundaries. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like it's tough. I don't really know how to classify it all the way, but I do really I do enjoy it. And
I think
it's a heavy listen.
But it's 35 minutes, which is the great part.
Which
it's good that it's like some rap songs that way. It's a heavy dance 25, 35 minute listen, and that makes a big difference. It makes it more replayable. I would come back to, if this was like a fucking Swans album, I'd probably listen to this twice, but
album I wouldn't get started, but
I agree.
I just don't want to get too caught up in talking about any one album. I think we all agree it's one of the best of the year, and it's given us a lot to talk about. Did any of you guys listen to Koreatown Oddity, a little Dominique's Nosebleed, or was that just me?
Did not.
I did not, no.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a mouthful. It's an album came out on Stone's Throw, an artist that I've been kind of on the fence about. He's very inconsistent. He did a pair of very good albums with Ross G that I mainly went to for the Ross G production. Then he put out some stuff without Ross G production that I wasn't so crazy about. This is a concept album. It's like an autobiography, essentially. It has very striking cover art that's kind of reminiscent of the initial proposed cover art for when Kanye was going to put out the album Love Everybody, with the picture of the surgeon that killed his mother on the cover. Killed his mother on the cover, where it's like a picture of him because he said he had 2 nosebleeds that when he was a child changed his life. It's, if you look it up, Little Dominique's Nosebleed, Koreatown Oddity, pretty striking. It's a really good album. If you're a fan of Blu, I think you'd find a lot too. And I guess that could kind of transition to something else to talk about after this. Really something to like here. Very strong sense of time and place and what he talks about. And there are actually some shared collaborators with Blu on here. Jametta Rose shows up on a track. Really good storytelling on stuff. Great Stone's Throw style beats. I think he handles the production on here. I mean, he's put out beat tapes. I obviously know he knows how to produce. I don't know if there's production credits on the RYM page, but I would highly recommend checking this out. Got a lot of recommendations in the hip hop thread, and yeah, very like eccentric sort of guy, but not like in the Loopers. Was the guy we were talking about before? Why am I blanking on this? We talked about like 20 minutes on the show. Like not that sort of eccentric, but like kind of mildly eccentric in that Blu sort of way. And very.
Is your motherfucking X-Wire?
Yeah, X-Wire. Like kind of like X-Wire, but not as like bitterly, or Vic. Not really like Vic, but yeah, I would check this album out. It's like 50 minutes. So again, we were talking about how albums seem to be shorter in quarantine, which is I think another weird phenomenon. I think it's kind of just people like putting out projects and wanting to put out more and more of them. I don't know if it's just like albums trending shorter in general. One album that didn't trend short of those, speaking of this, and you did, I don't know if you asterisked this or not, but you mentioned it, was Blu Exile Miles.
Yep.
Yeah.
We should talk about that because that one, I'm not going to have it on my year end. Maybe someone else will. But I have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be on my year end either, but it might deserve to be. But it's just like something this amazing. I don't know if I have to I almost feel like I need to clear my schedule to listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's really impressive and it's really good, but I'd be lying if I said I've listened to it more than like 1.5 times. So that's what I have on it. But I think but it's some of his best stuff in a long time.
Front to back, amazing stuff. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like such a time commitment, and I feel like I'm doing it a disservice when I listen to it and I stop. But I can't sit there for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it feels like almost disrespectful to be like, well, I can't sit and listen to this, but you can't really sit and listen to it.
And it's not like a concept album with a story arc or anything, but it really is kind of that almost. Because Blu is really just putting his life on. Like, he's trying to give you everything he's learned over his career, the entirety of the Black. Like, he puts a lot on these songs. Like, Miles was the single, and it's 9 minutes long. And he's talking about the whole experience on it.
Yeah.
Like, he's putting a lot on you.
Absolutely. And that's not uncommon for Blu.
No, but I feel like this is like he finally has fully realized he got the best instrumentals Exile had ever come up with. He finally decided, okay, you all wanted me to come up with a sequel to Below the Heavens. Here's your sequel. Sit with it.
Well, there are some songs on here that just sounded like they were straight out of 2007. I'm trying to think of which one it was. The Feeling. Oh my God, The Feeling is just like straight out of Below the Heavens, and I love that. I mean, it's dated in a way, but in a great way. Like, it just gave me that warmth that I needed, and I've been looking forward to with this project because I needed that. And yeah, I think it needs trimming, but like at the same time, there's not a lot I would cut. I swear there's one song. Which song is it? There's one where he talks about having a dream, and it's like Imagine by John Lennon and shit. And
the Dead People song where he like names all the dead people.
Dear Lord.
Oh no, not that. No, that's different.
That one to me is a bridge too far. That's the one where I'm like, I don't need to hear this one again.
But
jeez,
I don't know.
It's like. Imagine there's no religion, no planet, no anything. There's no Christian. There's no money. We can go all live in the African savannah. It's all good, and we'll eat big vegetables, and no one will ever be hungry again. And then, dear Jesus, let it happen. And then the song ends, and I'm just like, well, again, it's like what we talked about earlier with Silk Money. It's passionate.
It definitely is that.
Remember when you talked about all those people who died a few songs ago? Here's why they died, and that's why you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Gosh.
But yeah, I actually listened to a Blu song off of his Jesus EP, the title track that he did, the first song he did with a Madlib beat, and it's one of his best songs, but it's super rambling, and this is kind of like this album is like him taking that sort of like framework where he takes a concept and becoming less rambling, more like every single song, even the ones where he gets like that, where he's very dippy and sort of easy solutions about stuff. The rapping's still fucking great. Like you said, he's still passionate on that song. It's still pleasant to listen to. It's just you can't think too hard about it. And that's like one song. Otherwise, his case production's pretty airtight. Otherwise, he's just selling good narratives or just battle rapping really fucking good. The biggest criticism you can levy against this album is that there's too much of it.
Yeah, that and the songs where they list things. The list songs. Those kill people. I always hear people complain about the list songs. You know, John Coltrane, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson. You know, Aretha Franklin, and it just goes over like a jazz beat.
Right.
And there's like 3 of those.
I don't know. Like there's one song where it's like he just lists like dead people of all races, and it sounds like a game song. But I still actually really like that song. And but if we're talking about list songs, Rap Cats Part 3 off the Further Adventures of Lord Quaz is a great fucking song. That's literally just Mad Lib listing rappers. That's literally all that song is. That song's fucking awesome. So whatever, a list song can be great. Like, it's all in how you do it. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, so what if he uses the same template? Like, the biggest problem with this album is there's too much of it. One thing I wanted to talk about on the show was, again, I don't think you guys listened to it, any of the Wrecking Crew stuff, Blue Edwards, Cargo Cults, which is Little Rock in Alaska. Blue Edwards is Curly Castro and Small Pro. I assume neither.
Have not heard.
Even though I've been yelling about it. I promised everybody the Curren lecture was coming. Yeah, what the fuck? Why aren't you listening to this shit? Bought all of it on Bandcamp. What the fuck? Okay. The thing about it is the it's the Cargo Cults album, which is Alaska and Zilla Rocca. It's called Nihilist Millennial, which is the best album title of the year.
Yeah.
Also, probably my favorite album of the year in that it just seems to address everything with the right amount of anxiety and precision and in such a uniquely tailored to me way, and that it's my favorite album of the year that I can't imagine it being anyone else's. Like, I evangelized for this album, and I can understand other people being like, yeah, it's fine. He's rapping well. Beats are good. I don't understand why he's talking about all these locations, and I don't know what they are. Like, I guess this is cool for you. But yeah, it's really niche, I suppose, in that regard. But we had a discussion in the thread about Def Jux versus Anaconda, and I feel like both those strains of rap are gone, and I feel like this kind of synthesizes them both in something relevant in 2020.
Who else do you think is doing that kind of...
Billy Woods.
Okay, yeah.
Which they have an association with, like Curly Castro was on the Arm & Hammer album. So.
Right. Yeah, I saw your... I've seen you talk about it around on the site in your log and et cetera, et cetera.
And promising that I would say, and yeah, it is. I don't know. Like, I feel like Alfredo and How I'm Feeling Now are probably my two. Like, it's hard for me to compare an album that just came out a week ago to those because I've lived with them for a while, and those were my two favorites.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really up there for me. It's hard for me. Like, that was the thing. Like, I delayed the episode for a week because I wanted to talk about more stuff because I feel like the episodes are bad when it's just like one person talking about what they've heard and the other two are like, that sounds good. I should hear that. Thank you. but you should hear that. Like,
there's always going to be stuff that, like, there's a bunch of stuff I've listened to this year that, like, I know that you guys probably have very little have heard, or haven't heard rather, and have little connection to. So I definitely get, like, there's a reason why there are lists, because they're
that's why I put a list together, so I can tell you guys what I can talk about and speak about it. Yeah,
an overlap because we've all heard all the shit on your list. So, or I believe we have. So,
or now you have. If it was.
Yeah, I had previously heard, I believe, everything on your list.
Except for the Red Veil thing, and now I'm mad because it made Fantano mad, and I'd like to have heard that, although it seems like it's probably just in the album. But still.
It's solid. It's worth the time. The only thing that was funny about it is that he was a 16-year-old, and it was just Fantano hammering like this kid for really nothing. I don't know what I think Fantano just needs to like have a fucking spa day, Like, he just gets so fucking uptight on fucking Twitter about nothing. Like,
pissed off in that Deftones review. He seemed like he was mad about other shit in that Deftones review. I haven't seen a Fantano review in a long time, but I saw the Deftones review because it got linked on like the forum. Yeah. I was like, what's got to be in his bonnet about this? And it was dumb. But he seemed mad.
I didn't get it. Yeah.
He seemed mad about other things. Like, also, the thing about that is, and I will stop talking about Anthony Fantano in a minute, because I always say he doesn't talk about us at all. So why are we wasting time on him? But he never liked Deftones. If you look at his old videos, he actually never liked them. So
No, yeah.
we're expecting him to start liking them now. But so if he's already in a bad mood and he had to listen to this new one because it was a popular album he had to review, I can understand why he'd be pissy. Doesn't mean his review was right, because it wasn't. It was stupid, but he seemed like he was mad about other shit and had to listen to a band he didn't like already. So.
It's just, when you spend your whole day trying to review shit that people tell you to review, and then it's like, and you get everything is just like very immediate. You just type shit on Twitter. Like, I know he doesn't think about half the shit he types, and then next thing you know, is people are complaining. He needs to like focus on reviewing shit that he actually likes for a while. Like, you can tell when someone gets weighed down in the particulars of their work, and like even with like this podcast and shit, like we talk about shit we like, mostly. And when we talk about shit we don't like, we dunk on it. It's funny, like
Right.
that actually makes it better sometimes. But when you have to be serious, you have to write a serious review. I have to be a critic. Of course you're going to be a pain in the ass to deal with, because you got to spend 6 hours a day editing reviews of shit you don't even care about. Like, that's the problem with making your hobby into your job. And so
I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's his whole.
I'm like not going to do the nuts and bolts of the new Muse album or something. I know it's going to.
Fucking cares? Like, yeah.
So I'm just going to dunk on it for being pretentious trash and move on. Like, I want to make a funny joke and not like dwell on it and let it ruin my day. But that's his job, so I can see why it's like pissing him off. So.
Yeah, I would be just inconsolable if I had to listen to like Muse records, like just willingly for like seriously, and give them second and third listens.
Who had a worse Dubstep song, Muse or Jay-Z?
Good question. I don't know.
I mean, Jay-Z brought y'all ghetto techno.
You're making a good argument.
I'm slowly working my way through the Jay discography from the beginning. I kind of started because I skipped over some albums in the middle. So I'm up to volume 3 now. I spent volume 2 fixing up my apartment, and it was actually quite enjoyable, to be honest with you. But it wasn't great, but it was all right.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's all right.
It goes by better. Like, my reviews are pretty brutal of it, but it's like more because I look at it like everybody on there is a distraction from him, and like I think he's really lazy on that stuff. But they're pleasant enough. Like, it's all engineered to be fine. I think 1's the best. 3, I think 2 is the worst.
1 has intro, so that puts it over the top.
Yeah, 1 is a good album. I feel like
Actually, it's pretty good.
I feel like most people think 1 is like dope.
Yeah, 1 has the best tracks, and 3 has like good tracks, but is 3 the one with a bunch of Emil on it?
Yeah. 3 is it could have been really good, but Jay-Z just patted the fuck out of it, and that's 3.
Singles on 2, so like
you know what's funny as hell? The sequel to Coming of Age with Memphis Bleak. That is one that I was dying laughing, man. I don't think that song was supposed to be funny, but in like hindsight, that song is fucking hilarious. Like some rival gang is like trying to set up Memphis Bleak to like take Jay out because Jay isn't really coming through for him. Oh, it's so fucking funny because it's true.
That's our new rap conspiracy theory on this podcast. We're abandoning the Gucci clones. Although I like the idea that QAnon has of like that Donald Trump is like MF Doom and he's sending like clones to his shows. So
and it's not the real Donald Trump that comes out to perform on stage.
Right. MF Doom is not performing beef rap. He has like a fucking backing track.
Donald Trump's backing track is just like some racist rant of just utter nonsense.
They don't care. It's all the same to them.
And you're like, damn, this shit sounds like the real thing.
They just play a Reagan speech and nobody notices.
I mean, half the people at his fucking rallies are paid to be there anyway, so they don't give a shit.
I mean, this is documented. That is a true thing.
The best thing is when you look into like the Jews for Trump, blacks for Trump.
There's a picture of this black man sitting at the Tulsa rally, and it's got like blacks for Trump. He's got a t-shirt on, and he's just got this pissed off fucking look on his face. He's got like his legs crossed, and it's just this great. I gotta find that. We need to use that as a picture for this because that. Oh my god, fucking funniest picture I've ever seen. Like, because he does not want to be there. This is horrible, and someone photographed him. This is demoralizing.
It's demoralizing, yeah.
So it's great though. I mean, that really sums it all up. That's my favorite thing about those Tulsa pictures was just how many people look disenfranchised while sitting there.
Were not in the seats. How empty it was.
You got to hit the right angle, and you can make it look like it's like 2/3 full.
They tried to hit all the angles, and it was like, y'all know there are other people there, right? Besides yourself, like they're gonna take pictures of this.
All 100 people, all security, just get them right in the shot.
It was like, I mean, it was basically like Jeezy walking into the club, and Freddie Gibbs is like
on his bodyguard's back.
Freddie Gibbs is like, bro, come on, are you serious? Like, just talk to me.
Well, the Blacks for Trump movement's really been falling off since Herman Cain.
It's the thing. Like, making fun of Trump getting COVID isn't so bad because people are mocking Herman Cain's death for a month, just pounding him, just beating the dead corpse with a shovel for like the last month. And so, yeah, I can make fun of Trump being a bloated fucking windbag who's barely holding on for dear life. He deserves anyone who's actively steering people towards misinformation to toe the party line. COVID, they do. And
anyone who's pretty much led 200,000 people to die, I'm kind of okay with that.
Fuck them.
Yeah. Seems like prioritizing one life over 200K is a bad move. Just seems like it.
I guess you can call us 1%ers. Anyway. Seems like we've gone a little astray on this podcast. I suppose we should wrap it up. What is the one most relevant underground hip hop album you would say that people should check out from this year?
I think that's a good question. I think it depends on a couple of things, like what you're really into, like what would really like
for you personally.
Oh, for me personally, you're putting me on the spot here. This is tough. I think it depends, but there's the stuff that I think I've come back to the most is things that we all have found to be like compulsively listenable. So the Freddie, I mean, it's not really underground. I think Freddie's mainstream personally, but like the Freddie album and like, so, some of the like elite, like conscious stuff, Griselda stuff, Silk Money, etc. But I mean, on a personal level in general, I think when it comes to like the underground overall, I mean, I've been, my listening's been dominated by a lot of like stuff from things RYMers made, like the Surge compilation, shout out to Dismiss Yourself, or like, stuff that's more in the vein of, I mean, RCB has been like, one of my most listened to things this year. Anything that they've done or High C's done, or like, any like cloud rap, emo rap, fusions like Kid Trash, their album Slasher is one of my favorite albums of the year. So you've got that the Cemetery, Ghost Mountain record, which Kittenpuke and I talked about, a few weeks ago. There's just a lot of great stuff this year from all corners of hip hop and all genres that I would cite. I couldn't really give you one, but I think if you listen to any of the ones I mentioned, there's like 10 that you could go and listen to right after, because like, hey, if you like this, check that out. So, I'm going to be diplomatic and difficult, not answer the question fully.
If someone asked me if they hadn't listened to anything this year and someone asked me this is what you need to be listening to in rap, I would say Alfredo is the number one thing. Go check it out. I think that's the one. If someone asked me, that's what I would go with. It's not even as far as mainstream, but anything. However you categorize Freddie, I think that is the best encapsulation of the sound. Because Alchemist has been on a bunch of projects this year, and I still think that one is very strong. And Freddie's just still at the top of his game. It has great features. What more do you want? It's a slam dunk. You're gonna like it. That being said, as far as content that's relevant, I think Outrunners. And I think Silk Money's Attack of the Future Shock Flesh covered Meatbags at 85. I think those are the two most relevant content-wise. So if you really want to capture what 2020 is about, I think those are probably the two that I would go with. And then the one that I probably am going to come back to the most is, God has nothing to do with it, leave him out of it, from Backxwash. I think that's probably the one that I've been playing the most for my own reasons that I listed. And I wouldn't think that's necessarily specific to what's going on in 2020, but for a personal touch, I think that's a very important project. And then non-rap, Charlie, How I'm Feeling Now is for me probably album of the year.
Yeah, it's been my album of the year, and everybody else is fighting for second.
I think that's the one that Fiona came through too. It's been a great year for a lot of female songwriters. Really great. But that's another subject we'll get to later in the year. But as far as relevance goes, that's what I would pick.
Thank you I co-sign for all of that. Real quick, I didn't get a chance to get to it, but shout out to Black Noise on Earl's label Tan Crested that came out with Oblivion, which is a Rolodex album, which if you're into the slum stuff, also has Danny and Zaloopers from Bruiser Brigade on there. Shout out to Amani and King Vision Ultra's Unknown Infinite, which is another Rolodex album, which is kind of like a combination of the slums and backwoods and Wrecking Crew stuff. If I had to pick one album again, going to go with Nihilist Millennial. Go with the first track on the album, Get Off My Lawn. Pretty much. They also have another track. Like, Wrecking Crew has just killed the whole year. Small Pro has put out 5 beat tapes. All of them are essential. Koop Ma has put out 5. He's not on Wrecking Crew, but I recommend all of them. Again, shout out to Space Mayor, put out Guilt Milk. Everybody check that one out. Shout out to frequent co-host Jermainson, just put out a new project, The Adventures of V. Baldwin. Check out his Bandcamp. Thank you to Traviud, Travis Whitman, for joining us. Always a pleasure. We'll see you again on the year-end list. We are living off borrowed time. Hopefully, so are most of the members of our current administration. And our outro music is Stagnated Pace by Gankick.
It ain't gonna never stop. 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 It ain't gonna never stop.
Time is yet to be conquered by man. But when the time is right, perhaps the greatest revelation of all time will dawn upon us.